Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Vito Show. I'm your host, Vito Gesualdi, as always, coming to you from beautiful Los Angeles, California. Well, to be more specific, coming at you from my little bunker, my little... Why am I here? Why am I in California? I don't do anything in California. I just rot away in this tiny house. We're here. We're having fun. Tonight we'll be taking your calls. You might see on your screen right now, call in at discord.gg/abunchofnonsense. If you have a Discord, you can come on by our Discord, because we're going to be talking to you, the public. That's what this show's about. It's not about me. Well, it is about me, because the show's named after me. To be fair, it's about me. But it's also about you, the people on the ground. You have opinions, and I want to hear them. And one of the opinions I want to be talking about tonight is the breaking news. Not breaking, I mean, this happened last night. The Vito Show is behind by a day. Gina Carano, oh, these are the lyrics to Forgot About Dre. Gina Carano, who you may remember as Cara Dune, the beautiful Cara Dune, from The Mandalorian. There's no good pictures of her here. I guess this is a nice picture. All the pictures of her, I don't know why. I kept trying to... You look for Gina Carano, you think they'd have more pictures of her in the armor. It's always pictures of her like on a red carpet or something. That is a good-looking lady, not gonna lie. Wow-wah-wee-wah. Wow-wah-wee-wah, look at that good-looking lady. How are you gonna fire a lady like that? God, the curves there. Gina Carano fired! After offensive social media posts. Can you believe it? Well, I want to bring in my first guest right away. I'm gonna bring in the good Mr. Girl, and we're gonna go over this together. Mr. Girl, are you there? Test one. He's getting his microphone set up. He'll be here in a second. Let's take a look at this. This is from CNN. I know right now some of you are complaining. You're going, don't go to CNN. Look, this story's reported by everybody. All right, I'm sure CNN didn't get it right or wrong. Gina Carano, who starred as the unassailable warrior Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. Unassailable. It's a good adjective. I should use that more often. Will not appear in any future Star Wars projects after she shared offensive social media posts, including one that compared Nazi Germany to the current political landscape. Can you believe it? How's my audio, by the way? Because I'm probably going to be yelling. I always have to turn myself down a little bit so I don't end up screaming. Test one! Okay, even there it seems okay. Lucasfilm fired Carano Wednesday. This is I don't know if firing is the right term. They confirmed they're not going to use her anymore, which is basically the same as firing her, I guess. They basically said, we're not going to have her character on the show anymore. Which, yeah, I mean, it's a firing. She got fired. And we will talk about Pedro Pascal. I mean, look, people in the chat, they're already kicking up a fuss in the chat. This is the people's show. You're going to have a chance to call in. If you want to talk about Pedro Pascal, we'll talk about it. All right. Here was the statement. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. This was a Lucasfilm spokesperson said this. I hate spokesperson. Make Kathleen Kennedy say it herself. I want a name. I want to know who said that. And that if this was all they said, you'd be like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what's going on there. But here we have, nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities, I think that's a bit of a stretch, we'll get into that, are abhorrent and unacceptable. Not only was she fired from Star Wars, was dropped by UTA, the United Talent Agency, one of the big Hollywood talent agencies, was dropped on Wednesday. CNN has reached out to Lucasfilm and UTA and is waiting to hear back. Christine T says she said other things too. Well, let me put this Newsweek post. Christine in the chat has given us some links. Don't be afraid to post some links. Maybe we'll take a look. But let's keep going through the CNN thing here. Hopefully my guest will figure out what his microphone is. Mr. Girl, your microphone is broken. I'm gonna text him real quick. The posts invoked Nazi Germany.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, you gotta plug your microphone in, buddy.
No, I was just muted in
okay.
Discord.
Well, real quick, I will say, long-time guest of the show, Mr. Girl. We don't gotta do a big introduction here, but you are a person who cares.
Maybe we do.
Oh, maybe we do. YouTube.com/Mr. Girl Returns. One of my favorite
everybody.
video creators, the great Mr. Girl, always level-headed, always brings a great perspective to the situation.
Thank you.
And I know you're somebody who cares deeply about cancel culture, and I think we'll get into that. Right now I'm going through the news, so why don't I get through the story, and if you have anything you want to chime in, feel free. The posts invoked Nazi Germany and made fun of masks. The mask post, I believe, is older. But the post that she seems to be canceled for, at least it's the most recent one, the most controversial one, she actually posted it and then deleted it almost immediately, I'm told, because of the outcry. One of Carano's posts, which she appeared to repost from another account. Okay, so this was not something she wrote. She copy-pasted it. Referenced the Holocaust. I gotta stop you there. Should anybody involved with Star Wars be talking about the Holocaust? Really? Like, at all?
Well, I mean, the Star Wars itself talks about the Holocaust.
I know, but doesn't Star Wars handle it, you know? Like, you don't need
Carefully.
to also weigh in? It's already like a ham-fisted portrayal of Nazi Germany that, I don't know, maybe the stars don't need to get involved talking about the Jewish Holocaust. I don't know, it's Star Wars, you know? I feel like if you're Star Wars, you're kind of already dealing with the fact that you're like, it's still a little weird that we based this whole thing on World War II and the Empire is like technically Nazis. Maybe we should try to avoid those comparisons as much as possible.
Sure, but if she had said that the people storming the Capitol were like Nazis,
she would have got away with it.
Yeah, so it's not just that she made a comparison to the Holocaust.
Aw Thinker is saying, it's BS, it's not the Holocaust, read the post, Chubby. Buddy, I'm reading a news article verbatim, okay? I haven't given my thoughts on it yet. Okay, when I read off, okay, I am saying that she talked about she posted a picture that I'm pretty sure is a Holocaust. I don't know. Fine.
I think it was one of the
it shows what do you call it? Isn't it Nazis chasing down Jews in the picture? We'll look at the tweet in a second. Okay. But I do disagree. I do disagree with the Lucasfilm statement that says she was denigrating people based on their religious identities. I don't think that's true. That seems like a big stretch. Let's see. So that was one thing that she did, this Holocaust post that we will take a look at. She had another tweet that poked fun at mask wearing. I don't know why they don't just put all the images in these stories. She did not delete her conspiracy that convicted sex offender Epstein didn't die by suicide. I think that's fine. Everybody's okay with that. And of course, she famously was asked to put her pronouns in her profile as a sign of respect to the transgender community. And instead, she said she put beep, bop, and boop in her profile, which people are claiming is a mockery of trans people. She says it's a mockery of the mob that has taken over the voices of many genuine causes. Real quick, we have a super chat from Aaron who says, the issue is not what she said. The issue is that other people on the left have said more offensive things and have gotten off scot-free. Well, we do have to talk about this perceived double standard. Which, there is a bit of that. He also says, as a Jewish person, stop getting offended on my behalf. I understand what he's saying there. We'll get into that. Gina Carano has also used the hashtag Save Our Children, which has been linked to QAnon. Okay, I think we got the basic gist of all this. And real quick, so over on my Twitter, I've been posting a little bit about this, and I dug up a little bit myself. So let me go over there to pull up some of this stuff. Let's see. So here's the tweet that she got in trouble for, Gina Carano. And what? So did she I guess she reposted this. This was originally from something called the Warrior Priest Gym Podcast. I have no idea what that is. Gym as in gymnasium. Warrior Priest Gymnasium. Okay. Now, the picture, I'm not familiar with this picture. It shows a woman half naked being chased down the street and I assume beaten. I'm going to assume this is some sort of, again, something from Nazi Germany. I don't know. Are you familiar with this picture?
I've never seen it before. At least we're supposed to think it is. So
right. The implication is this shows what we're being claimed is the lead up to Nazi Germany, because as this post says, Jews were beaten in the streets not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. sad face emoji. Don't use emojis for this kind of. If you're showing a picture of the Holocaust, leave the sad. No emojis. I would say it's unnecessary. We understand that it is sad already.
I agree. But again, this is not us saying that she deserves to be fired for this necessarily, but it's just a critique of the tweet itself.
It's a joking critique. It's not. We're not going to fire Gina because she used a sad face to refer to the Holocaust, which she didn't even write this. I guess she reposted. Anyway, because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? So, I mean, it's a pretty clear statement that's being said here, is that she believes there's an ongoing effort to demonize conservatives, to turn average people against conservative voices as a prelude to potentially violence, if not just censorship or something else. That this is, I don't know, that there is an ongoing campaign to try and get our society to the point where we hate conservatives so much that we're going to chase them through the streets and beat the crap out of them. Now, I would say that's a bit hyperbolic. I know other people will say, no, that's reasonable, or at least the gist of it is reasonable. I don't know. What's your take, Mr. Girl?
Well, as a Jew.
As a Jew. As a proud, out Jew.
Proud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm
a
Jewish
Jew now,
too,
as well, by the way.
You are. Yeah. So I'm Jewish enough to be killed by Nazis. So,
right.
And I did have ancestors who were killed in the Holocaust. So to me, but I'm not religious and don't identify with Judaism at all. So to me, that's kind of one of the differences that she's missing, is that I don't believe in Judaism. I don't believe in God. I was never bar mitzvahed. I've never been to a Passover dinner. Yeah. I don't really know anything about Judaism, but the Nazis would still have me hiding under floorboards.
Right. It's not based on a belief. It's based on
it's based on your
built-in identity. Yeah.
Yeah. So
conservatives are conservatives by choice.
They are. So I agree with her in the sense that I do think that we're all kind of being conditioned to hate each other. And I think that, and I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I think that hatred of people who are different from you is certainly encouraged. And definitely a lot of that is aimed at conservatives. So I agree with that. And I agree that it does make violence more likely. And I mean, there is more political violence than there was a year or 2 years ago towards both sides. So I agree with that. I think what people are probably reacting really badly to is how is it any different from what happened to Jews? And it wasn't just Jews. I mean, so that's another thing that bothers me about the way people talk about the Holocaust. Like 12 million people,
a lot of different people were targeted, a lot of different groups.
Yeah, only half of them were Jews. So, and they were all killed for things, for the most part, that they had no choice about. So I do think it is different. I see why people react really badly to her post.
Well, people already kind of had a grudge against her because of these previous incidents with the pronouns thing and
she was on thin ice.
Yeah, telling people not to wear masks. Now, here's an interesting thing: is that let me see here. Is that she actually got canceled earlier than this post, though. They only now are like being public about it because they have a show coming out called Rangers of the New Republic, which I think was originally supposed to star her. I forget where I got this quote, but it says, according to sources, Lucasfilm planned to unveil Carano as the star of her own Disney Plus series during December's Investors Day presentation. That was the presentation where they announced like 12 new Star Wars projects, but scrapped those plans following her November tweets. I think those are the tweets, again, where she was arguing with the transgender community about pronouns. And then after this latest round of social media posts, they decided to completely cut ties. So I guess maybe she was on thin ice, and they're like, we don't really know if we want to do a TV show, so we're not going to announce it. I mean, as I said, first of all, get off social media. If you're working for a major network, if you're like a TV star, delete your social media. Why keep it? I understand the temptation to keep it, but so many people keep getting canceled for this nonsense. It's bizarre. So
or get like a college student to run it.
Yeah,
hire somebody to do this shit for you. If you're blurting out political shit,
or just really think it through before you tweet this stuff. But I guess the real point is, Does she deserve to be canceled? Real quick, I want to read this super chat from David D. He says, Disney could just remove her image from all marketing like they did for John Boyega in China, or send her to one of the Uyghur re-education camps. I mean, a lot of people are bringing up Disney's hypocrisy today, where it's like, Disney, you can't claim to be, you know, this like family-friendly company when you made a movie next door to one of China's concentration camps, and, you know, you've hidden black actors for foreign markets. Yeah, I mean, here's where I land on it, is I read this. This could have been way worse. Like, the only thing here that I think she's really getting nailed for is I think showing that image is, like, super inflammatory to say, oh, being a conservative is just like being chased down in the street and beaten. I think that's a little much a bridge too far. But it's also not, I mean, the way, again, Lucasfilm says it, is they say that she was denigrating people's religious identities. I don't see that at all. I don't see how this comes down on someone's religion in any way. I think that's insane. And thanks, Jay Cruzen, for the $20 super chat. My boy Jay Cruzen. I've seen actors. I think of Roseanne. Do you remember when Roseanne got canceled?
Yeah.
And do you remember what she was getting canceled for?
She called somebody an ape.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. And then also, I mean, for me,
there are a few other things.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. That's
yeah.
See, that's different. Gina was, now, I'm not going to say I want to cancel Roseanne, but that one I would say is much more justified in that, you know, she's publicly calling out people and saying things that could very easily be interpreted as racist. Gina wasn't like calling anyone out. She wasn't picking a fight. She wasn't, you know, Roseanne also said shit about that David Hogg kid who was a school shooting survivor. Like, that, Roseanne, you could almost make the argument, look, that's actually very damaging to the network. Nobody wants to watch a TV show about a lady who's going out and calling black people apes. Like,
a lot of people do, but
a lot of people are okay with it, but a lot of people are also not okay with it. And I could understand that actually hurting the show. I really don't think the stuff Gina's tweeting is like, do you think it hurts Disney or The Mandalorian in any meaningful way? Like, maybe a little bit.
I mean, I think that there's so much money flowing through. So I guess the question, should she have been fired? Like, I don't think anybody deserves to have their life be shitty because I don't like their political views. So I'm not going to say anybody should be fired just like for moral reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you don't deserve to, like, you could be the head of the KKK. I still think you should be allowed to have a job. Like, I don't think you should starve just because you have repugnant political views. So,
but the question is, what happens if your political views start, you know, affecting the bottom line of where you work? That's the question.
I mean, the same thing that would happen if she posted a picture of her butthole on Twitter. Like, anything you do that gets in between the mouse and the mouse's money, I think you're gonna get fired.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's what I always get with this cancel culture is people go, well, you can't cancel people for what they said. And I'm like, well, but you can if it's affecting... My argument is I don't think this affects their bottom line, or at least it doesn't affect their bottom line in any meaningful way. But if you're a corporation, you have to be... I mean, I hate to say it. You know, if I own an ice cream shop and it turns out the guy working for my ice cream shop murdered kids or writes articles about why you should murder kids, people are going to want to stop buying my ice cream because I'm paying that guy's salary. You know?
So like I'm sure you feel the same way, but I've accepted that I can never have a job like this.
What, in like television?
Anything really, any professional front-facing job where my past comments are going to reflect on the company I work for.
Yeah.
I cannot have a job like that where I interact with like the public, and you can't either.
I think I
feel like that's just something.
I think I could.
No, you can't.
What do you mean?
There's so many. You stream. Oh my God. There's, you know how many clips? If somebody just wanted to knock you out of whatever corporation you worked for. There's endless clips of you saying anything.
I'm gonna pull the ancient, white guy defense of I've changed. I was in a very dark time in my life.
No. There's
I
too
was
many.
an
There's
alcoholic.
too much ammo. You're fucked.
It's a
you're fucked.
demonization.
You're a content creator for life. This is the bed you've made. You got to lie in it. So if you work for Disney, which is the company that the cleanest company on earth, like I think it's kind of fucked up that this company that makes like I don't know, like a third of everything everybody watches and loves is so clean. I do think that's kind of messed up. Like
Disney's whole like we're for families image is it's kind of disgusting and weird and gross. And, like I get that you make entertainment for kids, but like trying to pretend that your corporation is comprised of Boy Scouts, like just be like, we make children's entertainment, but we're also scumbags like everybody else. We're human. Yeah, we're human beings.
But that just saying that is going to cost them billions of dollars. So I understand why they don't do it. And this is one good thing about Trump is that I think that Trump maybe the only good thing about Trump, in my opinion. I think that he established this norm of like I'm the president, but I'm also a human. I have flaws. Everybody's got a dirty side to them, and like fucking get over it. I think that would be good. But for now, I do think I don't know. What would you do if you were in charge of Star Wars?
Yeah.
And this person's starting to tweet more and more like loose cannon tweets and then deleting them. Don't you think you'd be like, you know what? You're becoming a problem. We're certainly not going to start a series just about you. And fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bet any more money on you. You're
well, as I said, somebody asked me.
Trusted.
First of all, I mean, people are saying, why don't they cancel Pedro Pascal? Or I think a better comparison is Nick Cannon, who actually said some almost blatantly anti-Semitic stuff about the Bilderberg, what is it, the Rothschilds, the Bilderberg group. Nick Cannon, Jews. Here's the difference.
Yeah, so when it comes to black guys, we have a thing where we're just like, they kind of some of them kind of hate Jews, but
they get a pass. I don't think it's a black thing. I think it's more Nick Cannon makes way more money for Viacom and all these other places than
you think so?
Gina Carano is, let's be clear, as much money as The Mandalorian makes, you can make that show without Gina Carano. Okay, Nick Cannon hosts America's Got Talent. He owns Wild and Out. Like it comes down to money. If you make enough money, you can say whatever you want. That's always how it goes. Like Chappelle, I always say, I'm like, Chappelle has fuck you money. He can do whatever he wants. If Chappelle wanted to start talking about the Jews, I mean, they'd probably you got to give the apology. Nick Cannon gave the apology. Gina Carano is not as much of a moneymaker. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anyway, we should let's take some calls here. Let's see what the public has to think about this. Let's talk to Blank Slate. Blank, are you there? Blankety. Well, I guess he does not actually have a microphone connected. Okay, good work, Blank. Let's try Honey. Honey, are you there?
Hi, Vito. I'm here.
Hey, Honey. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Look, I don't know what you look like, Honey, but have you seen this Gina Carano? My God, this woman.
She's gorgeous.
Oh, my God, the curves on her. Whoa, how are you going to cancel that? Whoa. This is all we do. This is going to be the rest of the podcast. We're just going to look at pictures of Gina Carano and make animal noises. So prepare for that. Honey, what is your take on this this Star Wars controversy?
I'm kind of like somebody that's pretty on the fence. I don't have an opinion about anything political. I just feel really bad for her.
Yeah. Well, anybody who loses their job, you hate to see that, right?
Absolutely. I think it really sucks. And I'm more attached to the YouTubers that liked her than I am to, her.
Yeah.
So I really feel awful about those people that love her.
She's she's been very popular with a number of YouTube communities. I think one reason she's popular is that she is an outspoken conservative in Hollywood, which, as we know, and let's not pretend otherwise, is a very liberal-dominated sphere. Sorry, and people were happy to see somebody who goes out there and says, I support Trump. Stop the steal is one thing here. We need to clean up the election process. Okay, well, I don't agree with that, but sure. But yeah, she was very popular as one of these few, especially as a female conservative celebrity. You don't see a lot of that. So,
yeah, a chick you can jack off to pictures of her, and she might actually not, hate you for your views.
yeah, she might actually like.
Yeah,
She might actually be on your side.
exactly. Well, so now, honey, do you feel bad for her the way you feel bad for like a teenager who got drunk and wrecked their car? You're like, well, this was stupid, but it sucks that you got injured. Or do you feel bad for her? Like, you think she should speak her mind freely and she's a victim here?
Well, I don't see her as a victim. I just feel like the circumstances are kind of bad. Everyone makes a mistake, and you say things you shouldn't be saying. And she should have been a professional online and offline. I believe that no matter your job, you have to have a sort of professionalism if you're representing a company. And with social media, even if you don't have the tag that says you're an employee of, you still should pretend that people, or not just pretend, you should know that people are looking at you and scrutinizing you.
So
I
to
don't
what
care-
extent do we become Mickey Mouse's property, though?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe in your personal life you can be yourself, but when you're around people that know who you are and who you work for, it's a little different.
What if she had texted this to somebody and then somebody
that's
screenshotted
personal.
it
That's
and tweeted it out? I think she still would have gotten fired.
I think.
Where do you draw the line? Like, if Mickey Mouse reads your journal and then fire you for your sick, deviant thoughts that you only write to yourself. Yeah. Where do you think the line should it be drawn anywhere?
Definitely be a line if it's private versus public. And what she said was definitely public, and she has a large, base. And
she's got something
think
else
that's
that's
the
large,
line.
if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying. I think that's part of the cost of celebrity is that you're always working. You're always on stage.
Very unfair, even if you're not a celebrity. If you have some sort of online status, whether you have a business, you have a YouTube channel, people are going to scrutinize you, and if they don't like you, they're definitely going to say something, or look up your past. It's things you have to expect, but it's just not fair. Life's unfair. So it's either you say nothing, you portray yourself as, the perfect person, or you be yourself. It's really hard.
It's a hard line, honey. I agree. It's hard to be out there right now as an entertainer, and you don't know what you can say or what's going to happen, and I don't know. It's a very interesting time. Well, honey, I'm going to take a call from my other guest, but thanks for coming by, honey.
You're welcome, and thank you for helping with the VTuber stuff.
Yeah, I hope it worked out. I hope it's all everything happening. Where's your Did you get your channel set up? Can we see you?
I'll definitely share with you when I'm done.
All right, when it's ready to go, you're gonna come back. We're gonna VTuber life. All right, honey. Thanks for coming by. That was honey. Good fan of the show. My second guest is here. Hopefully he can hear me. Kevin, can you hear me? He can hear me. All right, I'm gonna unmute him. This is the great Dr. Kevin Peter Hickerson, comedian, scientist, crazy man. I'm always fighting with him on Facebook recently, but that's good. Let me bring up his video here. There he is, Dr. Kevin P. Hickerson. How are you, Kevin?
I'm feeling good. I'm in a new place. I like it here.
Yeah, you moved, huh?
I moved, yes, closer to the IE. Yeah.
What was the move? What was the reason for it?
Oh, it's sad. I don't want to start off with sad, but my mom died, so I moved back into her house.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
And we had that in common because I know you lost your dad last year. So
yeah. Hey, we're in the Dead Parent Club.
Yeah. I still have one left, but
I still have one left as well. She's doing good. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the sadness.
But on the plus side, I live in a bigger house now. So
yeah, is it cool?
and I get to be part of the great exodus leaving the hellhole that is LA.
How much away from LA is this new place?
About 40 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
right at the boundary of LA County, so unfortunately, I still have the high taxes, but I can at least I can drive a mile and get that lower in not Orange County, San Bernardino.
Yeah,
So.
I'm thinking about leaving at some point, man. I don't know if
Dude, everybody is. And
I know.
Once all the clubs open, then all the comics are going to come back to West Hollywood. And
yeah, I think that's true. I think once all the...
I mean, that was the only reason I liked being near LA, was so that I could drive to Hollywood and hang out and party.
Yeah.
There's very little.
Do some comedy.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, so real quick, let people know you are a legitimate nuclear physicist.
Yeah, although I found when I argue with people on Facebook, they love to question that more than anything.
They really don't believe that you have a PhD.
Yeah, it's just like, well, every scientist I've seen on CNN disagrees with you, so obviously you are not a real scientist. You know, that's like how most people view the world nowadays.
Well, that's how it works.
Which is relevant to the topic tonight. So
absolutely. Well, that's what's interesting is that there is almost this built-in assumption. If you're a someone in Hollywood, if you're a scientist, whatever else, then obviously you must be a liberal, and you clearly are. Did you vote for Trump? Were you a Trump guy?
I voted for the candidate whose the second letter in their first name was O. So,
second letter in their first name. Yes, I've got it.
Yeah. So if you go through a list of all the presidential candidates,
you'll find one with an L in there, but you're not allowed to say it out loud. I mean, you're one of these guys.
Candidates, for some reason, I find this to be a weirder conspiracy than anything I've seen in QAnon. Is for some reason the second letter of every candidate for president had O in their first name. That's weird. I calculated the odds of that. It's astronomical.
Oh, really? Like, you think it's
like an asteroid should collide with the Earth before that happens? So I don't. It's probably related to the fact that most of them are over 90, and maybe just those were the only letters people put in first names back then. I don't know.
What do you call it? But you are one of these guys who, as a conservative in California, like, you do have to worry about getting canceled, right? Something like this.
I would say I kind of feel like I already was canceled by adjacency, because I started a podcast with Owen Benjamin, as you know.
Yes.
And he went balls deep into. Can I say that on the show?
You can say many things on this show. And you can
I worked at a restaurant with him when I was 19.
You really did? You worked with Owen Benjamin?
I did. I was a busboy, and he was a waiter, and he used to call me Harry Potter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
At Koji's Sushi and Shabu Shabu.
All right. Who's talking, actually?
Oh, sorry. So also on the show is my good friend Max Carson, a.k.a. Mr. Girl.
Oh, yeah. That's you. Yeah. Oh, that's extra funny. I wonder.
You guys met when we made my stupid commercial for my card game. He was one of the card game players.
Yeah. He went head on in. Oh, we were both at that. Oh, okay. We went. He went head on. Very what he did not describe as all right, but as everybody else did. I mean, he was like mega canceled. He was like getting waves of followers from Sean King canceling him.
Yeah,
like,
he talks
calling up
nonstop about Jews. I've seen his streams.
Yeah. Well, he did a lot of that past his canceling. He went one. That was almost like once he was canceled, he's like, oh fuck it, I might as well just go full blown.
I was about to say, I'm looking for a picture of him in one of the first sites you find him on is StopAntisemitism.org, the anti-Semite of the week, Owen Benjamin. It's good. It's good that you guys had a podcast. That's a fun.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it does. That part of his comedy hurt, and it was hard to be a part of. But
are you Jewish, by the way?
No. It just hurt. I study history, though.
You're not a Holocaust denier or anything like that.
What's that?
You're
Me?
not denying the
No,
Holocaust.
no. In fact, I had two family members die in the Holocaust. They weren't Jewish; they were Polish. But
Yeah.
my wife's family lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm worried that sometimes that's considered Holocaust now. If you talk about the non-Jewish members of the victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think that it sends
in
a
fact,
better
that's
message.
illegal in Poland.
I
Interestingly,
know,
and I don't agree with that.
It's illegal in Poland to implicate Poland in the
Yeah,
Holocaust.
and I understand the feelings because Poles did have to deal with that outside of, especially here in the U.S. There's a huge amount of ignorance about what the Holocaust was in Poland, how they were the victims of invasion, but.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to make it illegal to criticize me too.
But stupid. I don't think you should put people in jail for disputing history, even when it sucks. But
so as somebody who is, who claims to have at least sort of been canceled and has dealt with this conservative bias in Hollywood, and I know you've worked in Hollywood, you've worked on Hollywood films. I know we've talked about that you've done work behind the background on some Marvel movies. I don't even know if you're allowed to talk about that anymore. Are you allowed to talk about? Are you ever worried that you don't want to implicate anything, or?
Not really, because the way I've done work, it's so like
in the background.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in the case we're talking about today, it's about branding and image, and I didn't even get credits in Thor. I'm on the Wikipedia page for it, but I wouldn't get listed because I'm not through the official, SAG.
Yeah, I was gonna say the unions or whatever.
Yeah, so as a scientist, I have a little bit of leeway where I don't have to worry about that. But certainly there's canceling in academia, although I would say we got that first, and it's actually, we're kind of getting over it now because it's getting to the point now where scientific opinions are being treated like political opinions. They're being mixed. And the pandemic has made that even worse. And that's related to this part of the reason that she was canceled is that she doubted the efficacy of masks, which is a scientific issue, not it's an issue that.
Test 1. Did I lose connection?
Having very little understanding about how virus transmission works and stuff like that. So that's actually been worrying a lot of academics recently because, throughout history, scientists have been canceled long before anybody else has. You said you disagreed with the power structure, which used to be the church, and you would get canceled and a lot of times it wouldn't be for anything other than something you said threatened the power structure of whoever was trying to make something true at the time. It was seldom like, I disagree with this religious concept. It was usually more like, I disagree with a concept that somehow threatens a mechanism of control that the church has on people. So this is like, for example, like the disputing a famous Pole we were talking about, Copernicus. He was actually a clergyman, and he came up with this theory that the Earth goes around the sun, and he didn't get canceled for that. Actually, he kept his position. He was pretty happy. It was really Galileo who did it because he was threatening the power structure of the Inquisition and of the Pope and their component of control. It wasn't actually the fact that the Earth didn't go around the sun that was the problem. It was really just the fact that they were saying there's a power structure that's bigger than Rome. Like Rome is the center of the universe, and all power does not derive from Rome.
So as we can see, I mean, Gina had some tweets. I couldn't find the other one, but here's one where, it's a little meme about, wearing masks. She's criticized wearing masks before.
I do too, by the way.
Yeah, so. And you do as well. I mean, so do you think this is, when we cancel people for coming out against masks, which is a scientific issue, are you saying that's like an anti-science or an attempt to control science? What do you think?
I think it's a horrifically anti-science position because, a famous quote from Feynman is that science is a belief in the ignorance of experts. It is not belief that experts who call themselves scientists get absolute control over knowledge. That absolutely is against everything I ever learned as a scientist. Like when I went to Caltech, one of the things I loved about it was that unlike in high school where the teacher's sort of blabbing away facts, and you're supposed to memorize those, and however many you regurgitate to them is what price, what score you get on your test. There, it was like the teacher makes a claim, and all of the students are skeptical of that claim and demand to know how you could possibly make that claim. And then on the other side, homework problems weren't about reciting an answer. They were about prove to me that you actually know that this is true somehow. You don't get to just say, oh, this is the answer because you said so in class. You have to prove it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that in math, that's very rigorous. But even in science, it's you have to derive something. That's you don't just get to say, well, the textbook says this, so that's the answer.
Well, what's your solution for? I mean, do you think anyone ever deserves to lose their job for what they've said, or do you think there needs to be a certain standard? I mean,
well,
go ahead.
I'm delightfully on both sides of this because I'm an asshole at work.
Yeah.
But I am absolutely not a political asshole at work. I do not. The offensive garbage that I spew out on the internet, I do not do that at work. I hope I apologize to an employee who might say that that's true while I'm in a meeting or something. Maybe I do at lunch or something. But I am also still very aggressive and an asshole at work. And I actually recognize that that's probably not necessarily right. It is my style. If I'm in a conference, even a big conference, I've called out very famous people sometimes at a meeting and said, this isn't true. And I've faced immediate repercussions, but then later get rewarded because down the road I can prove that it's true. And then people thank me for my early bravery, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
But I also understand that people have the right to fire me for my style of approaching things because we live in a civil society now, or hopefully.
Yeah.
And when you're arguing a point at work, how you argue it and how you interact with your fellow employees is obviously important.
You can't just scream at your coworker.
Yeah, I mean, like if she were like, it's like, okay, your line is this is the way, and Baby Yoda went that way. And don't get me started on how he's not Baby Yoda, but Baby Yoda that way. And she's like, yeah, Baby Yoda that way, like the stolen ballots. Like I get that would be a fireable offense, right? Like if it never ended on site, because obviously the whole definition of being professional is check that shit at home. But what's scary to me is this idea that if you want to be famous and you want to have influence, you are just automatically lockstep with whatever the corporate entity that is hiring you. And I have definitely been locked in that situation, not related to politics, but related to intellectual property and related to where stuff is manufactured and the ethics of how things are manufactured. So I've worked for companies that outsource technology manufacturing to China. And it's a very chilling idea that my employer could say, luckily I don't have an employer now. I'm self-employed. I own a company, a very successful one.
Fantastic.
You bet? Yeah. And so I don't have to worry about these constraints. But it would be very chilling to me if companies started saying, look, if you criticize outsourcing to China, that's our thing. So you better not do that. Or the communist government of China doesn't like the fact that you have publicly said you don't like the fact that there's concentration camps in China, and that's really where we get our.
But are you saying that's the direction you think we're headed, though? Do you think that this is
absolutely? Let's be clear. The real reason she was canceled was that. I know that sounds crazy and conspiratorial to you, but for people who have been looking at this is actually why she was canceled. It was because of her criticism of the relationship between Disney and China, despite the fact she didn't make that direct link. That was her employer's link. And so this is in that direction.
I think Disney canceled her for criticizing concentration camps.
Yes.
I think you're bonkers.
Thank you.
I think you're
compliment.
Well, I mean,
I do think,
but she's not criticizing concentration camps in. You're saying in her post about the Jewish thing, that right now.
She's not specific. She questioned the authenticity of the election. China interfered in the election.
Okay.
China had a preference in the election. She criticized that preference.
Did
China,
she say anything about China, though? I haven't seen that.
I don't know, but does that matter? I told you, her making the link doesn't matter. The fact is, China and Disney made the link.
So you think
They're much
what
smarter
that
than
Disney?
her. She's
Do you
not a
think?
genius. Let's face it, she's not a genius. Okay, she's an actress of whatever talent you want to call her.
Medium talent,
think
sure.
Disney wants to appease China because of Marvel movies?
No, Disney works with China. They have said that over and over. They get money from China. It is a huge market base. It is 1/4 of the world population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think? Are you claiming
that message?
Yeah, go ahead. Are you claiming that Disney has an anti-conservative bias because it's actually a pro-China bias? That
yeah, I think it was a pro-China bias, not an anti-conservative bias. Yeah. By the way, you said I was conservative. I don't consider myself conservative, so
sure.
Interesting.
What would you?
Communist, but I don't consider that to be a conservative position. I consider communism to be a failed system that has caused incredible, irreparable harm to the world, on par with the harm that was caused by fascism in the 40s and 50s.
You're a free spirit. You don't put yourself in any boxes, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then, so what do you are you saying China is the ultimate menace? That is.
Well, I don't want to say China because I have nothing against China as a country. I love China.
The Chinese government.
I am specifically referring to the giant megalith that is this modern incarnation of the Chinese Communist Party that has managed to infiltrate massive corporate networks all over the world. And this is not me making this up, like they secretly meet and control the world. This is well-established things. I mean, there are lines of ownership all over the world. And, This,
but I don't think, I don't think China personally got involved here. Maybe this is just you're saying this is an extension of Disney's corporate brand, as a pro-China brand?
It's an extension of Disney's corporate brand. Yeah, I'm not going to say there's any kind of, one-on-one tit for tat, that kind of thing. Obviously not. But, they're a company that had a brand and an image, and they know that brand and image needs to go in order to make the bigger picture work for them. Absolutely.
So what ultimately would you like? I mean, what is the path that you would... what should happen, basically? Should someone like Disney...
I mean, let's face it.
I mean, you're saying that the powers at work are too big to do anything here. If we're talking about the Chinese government...
No. Well, no, because what we need to do is reject the ideology that that is a very, very communist Chinese party idea, that things like spreading malicious rumors, which is the word-for-word count that a lot of people were arrested for in the beginning of the pandemic in Wuhan,
right,
for spreading malicious rumors that there was a bad disease being spread in Wuhan, that this is now becoming the norm in America, that's a thing that you should be able to lose your job for, that spreading a malicious rumor that's decided by experts is somehow a fireable offense is absurd.
But she said that what's happening to conservatives is like what happened to Jews in the Holocaust.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
well,
you're comparing that. You're comparing that to getting arrested for talking about a viral outbreak in China.
Well, I mean,
I
that's
don't
your
see. I don't think
interpretation of how she said that. I don't see that. I didn't read every tweet she said, but certainly that main meme that she's sending it. Absolutely,
well, you saw the main tweet that people are upset about, right?
The tweet she got fired for.
The one where she said it starts off by getting your neighbors to hate you. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I have friends who are eyewitnesses. That is how it starts. That's
fine. That's fine. But you're comparing
how Hitler started.
That's fine, but you're comparing her talking about the Holocaust and getting fired from her job to getting arrested for talking about a virus spreading. And I don't think those are the same thing. I mean,
it's not the same thing. I'm certainly not making the claim that Disney is now enacting policies identical to the Communist Chinese Party. So yes,
what claim are you making?
I'm saying Disney is consistently making their policies more and more in line with the Chinese Communist Party to the degree that they have the power to do that.
You don't think that Disney would always...
That kind of speech at the moment is illegal, although certainly people have made calls for that to change. When you use words like insurrection and domestic terrorist, and we went through this back in 9/11 era also, where supporting being anti-war would potentially get you labeled a terrorist, which of course those two things aren't the same. And McCarthyism, where just being anti-war with the Soviet Union or anti-nuclear war would get you labeled as a communist sympathizer.
Yeah.
During the Vietnam War, we've had waves of this before, so this is not like a new concept. I'm not like making up slippery slope concepts. We're always, I definitely believe we're going to keep freedom in America. I'm not saying, oh my God, holy shit, the trains are coming because of her getting fired from her job. But the point is, these things didn't happen these things happen slowly in those places. In Germany, for example, and that's what was her point. Was my understanding from that.
Yeah, I don't think they did, but as you just pointed out,
say like, "Hey, that's nothing like Germany in 1944." Yeah, well, guess what? Germany in 1944 wasn't how Germany got to 1944. Germany in the 30s is how Germany got to 1934.
That's sure, but you just said yourself that we've been doing this in the United States since like the 50s. Or forever. Haven't people always been fired for their jobs for voicing a unpopular opinion that sullied the reputation of their employer? I just don't see this. I don't see this.
Sometimes they're protected from that. It depends a lot. And it depends on the scale of that. And
ultimately, we're having two different discussions.
Disney's ability to fire people now actually greater than the protection that she would get from the U.S. Constitution and from the government of the Constitution. I would claim, yes, we're getting to a new, scary, dangerous regime where the international corporations have power on the scale of international governments, which includes non-democratic, non-pro-freedom governments like the Communist Party of China. Their interests are being represented in Disney just as much as the angry fans, so-called, that we're led to believe. This is the same of Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter don't just represent Americans. They don't have American customers. They're not a subset of America. They are this large conglomerate that actually is connected to billions of people that exceeds the authority of the American government. Obviously, they have to obey American laws in America, but their ability to censor, power, and control the world is significantly bigger than anything we ever seen. Certainly than anything in the 50s.
So, we're going down quite a rabbit hole, I must say. There's a lot to take in. Ultimately, what I'm hearing from you is that you agree with Gina's assertion that this is becoming like a communist panic, like a post 9/11 you have to be, or you're thrown under the bus. And it sounds like you agree with her on that point. Son of a gun. Test 1, you there? Test. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I had a hiccup there. So ultimately, one is, do we agree with Gina's assertion that what's happening... Oh, come on with this shit. Test 1. Hello?
Hello.
I'm in the middle of a great live stream, and of course my internet decides to start destroying my life. Okay, I think we're back now. Okay, we're having two different discussions. Let's break them down into two different things. First of all, does what she did deserve... Is there any justification for firing her for what she's posted? Any meaningful justification?
Okay, do you mean legal justification or
moral or from an economic standpoint, if they believe that she's going to lose them money by having this opinion?
It's such a no-brainer. I'm tired of people bringing that up. Of course, economically, a one-on-one transaction, just at the bare minimum, imagine I want to hire you to rake my lawn or something. Dude, if you show up and all you can do is sit there blabbing away about some bullshit conspiracy theory I don't want to hear. Obviously, I don't have to hire you. Hell, if you just say, I just happen to know you're an asshole, and maybe you're not an asshole at work. Of course, I don't have to hire you. This isn't about that, and I'm getting exhausted of that comparison. This is about, let's face it, she can be canceled in the sense that she has zero other options when all the media corporations work together in unison for one political goal, and that goal is dictated by investments and control and political parties that are all synchronized and all coordinate and all collude together. I mean, that's the issue. Is that
that's another question. Is
at some point de facto collusion becomes the same as tyranny, and people don't get just to cut and paste whatever. Like, oh, that's freedom of speech for poor old Disney or poor old Lucasfilms. They all work together. They have contracts together. They all vote together. They all support candidates together. They have a narrative that is important to their business model. So there's a point where it passes the line, and anybody who believes in regulation of any kind, which I hope is anybody, that you have to accept that there's a point where that happens. Do they have the legal right to do what they did? Probably. She probably signed a contract that said they did.
Well, it's not so much. You're bringing up another point.
We all live by.
Well, it sounds like you take a very cynical view that you don't even think Disney cares about any of this. Like, you don't think they actually agree or disagree on any moral standpoint. That it's purely either a business or B again, it's wanting to maintain relationships with certain individuals. Do you believe that the people who fired her believe that she
personally offended a liberal in Hollywood that was her direct employer or something? That could be. I don't know. But that would just, in my view, that would just be abuse of power of that person on the board of Disney. Again,
it's possible that Lucasfilm,
right? When you're on the board of a company, you have a fiduciary duty to do what the company's best interest is. So, it doesn't matter. It's like those board members who agreed to do this, they had to be sitting around saying, this is bad for Disney, and they had to have a reason. And it can't just be, we're losing readership or fanship because she's embarrassing us. They were thinking of the other things, like strategic investments from foreign partners. I guarantee you that word comes up in board meetings. I've been in these board meetings. I know that that's what they say in those meetings.
Yeah, I'm not. I think ultimately, it comes down to them saying that this kind of statement. I mean, when they see a Twitter campaign and a bunch of hashtags that say cancel Gina Carano, if you're a Disney board member sitting around, you're probably like, she keeps causing trouble. She keeps rocking the boat. We probably make more money by just getting rid of her at this point.
Right.
I mean,
doesn't it introduce the possibility at some point we as a collective like let's put a stop to this. Let's put clear defined laws, sort of like we used to do with the government when the government was the absolute say, which it's not anymore.
Yeah.
At some point we said enough is enough. We have God-given rights. Or goddess woman given rights, or whatever we're going to say nowadays, that you are allowed to say things in your private time as long as they don't directly affect your work that day. That has to be a thing we all start to agree on. Maybe
the problem you run into, though, is what happens. Let's say I'm a small business owner, and I hire a guy, and I find out that in his spare time he publishes terrorist literature. And then people go, I don't want to shop at Vito's ice cream shop because the guy he hired, the money that I give him for ice cream directly pays that guy's salary to make pro-ISIS propaganda. How can I tell?
And to be a little less scary about it, this is the gay wedding cake argument, right?
Right.
Like, the government also doesn't have the right to just come in and say, like, dude, you're now our slave. You have to personally make gay wedding cakes. Well, there's an obvious balance. I shouldn't say it's obvious. There's a balance in scale. Scale is the separator, just like scale is its separator in government.
Yeah.
Like, my freedom of speech is because I got the First Amendment because I'm the little guy compared to the king. So the difference is what's the king and what's the individual, you know? And where people used to argue and fight and have wars was, is a duke a king? You know, can the duke command his underlings versus, you know, attack the king?
Well, it gets very complicated.
A company like Disney or Lucasfilms or an entire system of selling media across the world. Come on, man, we're way past you hiring some guy making gay wedding cakes or ISIS cakes. We're spanning literally billions of people versus
ISIS
people.
cream at the ISIS cream store.
I like that. Or my personal favorite, gay ISIS wedding cakes, which I haven't seen, but I want to.
Well, Kevin, you got so excited, I think you unplugged your web camera, so congratulations on that. I literally heard a bump, and then it went off, and I'm like, oh, this guy's animated right now.
How do I go back in?
I don't know. It's fine. We got you on audio still. It's complicated, though, when you get into something like... Look, I could say a guy who's sitting behind the counter, you know, a guy who's working deep in the Disney whatever department, and maybe, you know, in his spare time, he talks crap to his friends about whatever else. Okay, I could understand... All right, we got you back. I could understand saying that guy, you can't cancel him for something stupid like that. But someone like, you know, someone who's an actor is like the face of the show. I mean, they are the product. At that point, you're not an employee, you're the product. So it's a very complicated situation. That being said, I don't think what Gina personally said here is... like, I'm one of these guys, I say you almost had a point with Roseanne. Roseanne was going out there. She's the face of the show. You know, she calls a black woman an ape, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. You go, you know what? It's just, it looks bad for the show. You're the product. You're a tainted product now, and we don't want to sell you in our store anymore.
I'm also willing to accept at some point you're hurting the feelings of your
audience,
fellow employees, and that can't not interfere with your job. But I would argue that if that's true, then there's a separate issue, which is why is Disney and Lucasfilms so monolithic that this is so upsetting to her coworkers instead of there being, you know, at least a couple of high fives at work. You know, that's another problem that Hollywood has, right? And that's a problem we have by the fact that just we're literally in Hollywood, and Hollywood is Hollywood. It is its own fucking bubble, and that is part of this. That's related to the problem. You know, it's like our all the messaging of the world comes from this tiny group of people who all know each other and go to each other's orgies and do blow together, right?
Yeah,
like that.
The blood orgies, the famous Hollywood blood orgies. Which I'm never invited to.
I
always want to go.
Vito. I'm sorry, I'm invited. You're probably not invited.
Well, you never invite me to the blood orgy. Kevin, we're going to move on to another part of the show. I've enjoyed having you on. I want to give you the final word, though. What do you think needs to happen in Hollywood? Where are we heading? What do warn the people? Be the man on the street corner with the megaphone.
I want people to start allowing the general idea that people have a right to not just privacy. We've agreed in that a long time ago. The paparazzi ruined that. You know, we've all agreed that the paparazzi doesn't have the right to invade people's privacy. I want there to be a next level where people agree that once you walk off set, you walk off your job, you're entitled to your own political opinions, and that they are not part of your brand, that you're not representing them. My views are my own needs to be a real thing, similar to the Bill of Rights, where it's like, look, if I show up, do my job professionally, I'm doing my job professionally. Don't judge me for what I do once I leave that Hollywood set.
Yeah, and understanding that people do deserve to have a private life, and maybe you don't like the things they hear, but unless it's somehow direct.
Even public. I'm saying it's still even a public life. I think we've agreed private life is off limits now. I think we've solved that. That used to be a big problem in the 80s where it's just like, oh, we're people going through your trash can and publishing shit about you would get you fired back then, right? I'm saying let's go to a new world where like we understand you can do your job professionally. You're allowed to have political opinions outside that, even if they don't agree with the corporate agenda of your employer.
All right. I think that's highly reasonable. Kevin, how do we find you? Where do we find you?
Well, I used to do a podcast. It wasn't canceled exactly. It just hasn't been doing it well. But I still would like you to listen to past episodes. I made a lot of great predictions. I did shows with Jimmy O Yang, Alan Alda, Bill Nye.
Yeah, you got some real people on here.
I have a lot of heavy hitters in there.
Is this Bill Nye? You did one with Bill Nye?
Yeah. I've done tons of Nobel laureates and everything. And one of my favorite episodes that I like is I did an episode with Nobel laureate Kip Thorne. And on that episode, I argue with Owen Benjamin about whether or not Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. And what's hilarious is that he went on to become supposedly a Donald Trump supporter, and I was not. But I was sitting there.
Of course he's going to win. Oh, my internet.
That seems crazy. He's such a weirdo. They would never nominate him. And I'm like, dude, of course he'll be the nominee. And they asked me why. And I'm like, why? He has lots of money and he's on a TV show. And so I feel very proud of that because I very publicly stated, I think this was back when he had like 1%, popularity, where I was like, and I heard what he said is like, you called it, laughing it off, saying, oh, this will be so fun when he runs because it will be a disaster. And I'm like, careful what you wish for, man, because it sure seems like he's talking to somebody. So, he's got a voice and people are listening. So,
I want people to go to soundcloud.com.
Things down the road. So.
Yeah, probably the easiest way to find you would be to just put Surely You're Joking into Google with Kevin Hickerson. You actually can go and you can enjoy a classic me 3 years ago talking about selling popcorn at Berkeley. Probably that'll be the first one that people should listen to. Then you can listen to Bill Nye and Alan Alda after you get some real celebrity in your life. Kevin, always good to have you on, and we'll have you back again. Thanks for coming by, buddy.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, God bless. That was the great, the beloved. Oh, did I just leave my own chat room? Yes, I did. That was the great Kevin Peter Hickerson, who is no longer here. Mr. Girl, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Kevin talks a lot, and I was like, I don't think there's any room, which is fine. He had a lot on his mind. I'm glad that you stayed in the background for that one, because he definitely had a lot he had to say.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Where do you land on the China connection? Do you kind of see what he's going for there?
No, I mean, he said it was going to sound like a conspiracy theory, so that was my impression, is that it is it is literally a conspiracy theory.
Well, it's a belief that what do you call it? That these corporations are basically so in the pocket of China that they're not even making decisions for themselves anymore. Is kind of what I'm hearing.
I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. I don't think it's progressed to the level that he does, but it's pretty obvious that
it's definitely happening in a I mean, we see that China has influence over our culture.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
we do bring up Disney censoring things, and we almost wonder if it affects casting or story choices when they push black characters to the background and stuff like that. I don't have that information firsthand, but it's definitely something that a lot of people have commented on and surmised. I don't know.
Yes.
It's troubling. I am somebody, I hate to say it, the more I read about the Chinese Communist Party, the less I like them. I don't know if that's a controversial statement. I don't
think so. I think they're pretty well accepted as our adversary politically.
Yeah.
I mean, just
not only
politically,
but like ideologically, they are
actually.
Yeah, they believe in censorship. They believe in control. They believe in taking away your democratic rights. I mean, what's happening in Hong Kong is horrifying to me.
Yeah, so I agree that doing business with them It's kind of like Saudi Arabia. It's like the more you do business with them, the more you're kind of turning a blind eye to the awful things they're doing, and the more you have to compromise your values.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really is the ultimate. I mean, it's such a. It feels almost, I don't know, petty. I don't know the way to say it, but how can Disney claim to care about morality or whatever else when they're so closely working with the Chinese government? I mean, when they go to film their movie, they work with the government to get the filming permits and to make sure China looks beautiful, and there's all these different rules and regulations they have to follow from the party just to publish their movies there. On the screen right now, I have a Hong Kong journalist, the leader of a newspaper, being arrested for daring to print pro-democracy articles. So who is, of all the people to suddenly have a stance on anything, it feels hollow and stupid. I'm gonna kill myself if this fucking internet keeps doing this. Test 1, 1, 2. I don't know why my internet... Hello. I don't know why my internet keeps hiccuping. It's a real pain in the ass. I'm gonna have to call my ISP. Anyway, I want to move on to the portion of the show. You want to hear from the public? You think the public's got anything to say about this?
I think we should find out.
I think we should find out. As we like to say on my favorite television show, Hollywood stars and celebrities, what do they know? Do they know things? Are you a BoJack Horseman fan?
No, I've never watched it.
You haven't watched BoJack Horseman? Oh, my God.
Should I?
Yeah, actually,
Sounds
you
like I
really
should.
should. I think you would greatly enjoy it. It is all about it is all about trying to find meaning despite being a hollow, empty shell of a human being, as is our experience, clearly. Let's take some calls. Let's move to Shadow Kruger. Kruger, are you there?
Yes. Hey, Vito, how are you?
I'm doing good. Kruger, actually, give me 2 seconds. Let me come right back to you. I forgot. People are super chatting. Let me read these real quick. I hate missing these. Let's see. We had a couple subscriptions. Thank you very much. City Hunter with $2 says, we love Gina Carano. I agree. Christopher Stone says, if anything, maybe force her to apologize for the tweet. Lucasfilm has problems with their own staff and book writers, but now they care about their image. It's not like she's out there berating people. I agree where this is a thing where, like, if you really take offense with it, can't she just apologize for it and it's not that big a deal? Am I crazy?
I think it's I still think they're looking ahead. And they're thinking, you're a problem person, and we can just replace you with a non-problem person.
Let's see. Also, we had Bob Gina says, I love you despite you being a liberal. Don't stop making comedy. Thank you, sir. I am a filthy liberal. Let's see. Nevada just passed a law that would allow companies to set up their own governments. That's a whole other can of worms we'll have to talk about some other time. Audacity, the hypocrisy of it all is staggering. She didn't do anything different from her left-leaning coworkers. Hopefully we'll get into that, because I do agree. Kellerman, $5, love your videos. Thank you. Derek Kenny, the way that history is interpreted or seen is where the issues begin, like comparing all Trump supporters to Germany, yet he still has a job. I think he's talking about Pedro Pascal, and I agree. It's kind of the same thing. And then Dr. Cataclysm brings up that Disney literally has Chinese government agents review footage from movies being shot in order to get an okay from the CCCP. Insane. Goulardi with a resubscription. Thank you very much. Let's take some calls. Sorry about that. Shadow Kruger, we are back. How are you?
Good, Vito. Yeah, man, you're good. I know you're just shouting out some people who are supporting you. You're all good.
Yeah, there's always so much to manage during these shows. I want to make sure. If you give me $5, I can't not read it out. I'd feel like a terrible person. That's awful.
No, hey, bro, it makes sense. Like, I totally understand you. You're good.
So what's going on, buddy? What's on your mind?
You know, it's just, this whole thing is insane. Like, I really love a lot with what Mr. Kevin was saying. You know, this whole thing is
Dr. Kevin, by the way. Dr. Kevin, let's be clear.
Yeah.
The man is a doc. I still, for some reason, I can't get his webcam off. He's smiling when I said that. Hey, Kevin. For some reason, I'm still staring.
I can see him here in chat. I can see him here. He's like, yeah.
He's like,
bro,
that's right. I'm a doctor. God damn it. But go ahead.
It's like,
what were?
It's like everyone. It's like everyone getting on everyone's ass about being like, no, it's Dr. Jill Stein.
Yeah, it's Dr. Jill Stein.
Like
you can't not say doctor. Come on.
Yeah, but no, the whole thing. I mean, it's funny too because they're trying to get rid of this woman from one of the more popular Disney Plus shows, and the reason why most people are paying for Disney Plus besides WandaVision, and James Gunn had some pretty ridiculous tweets a long time ago, and Disney forgave him for it because, oh shit, we actually need James Gunn because he's a brilliant man who made Guardians of the Galaxy one of the best Marvel movies. And they're like, okay, let's bring him back on.
Now that was after a public outcry. They had a lot of evidence that bringing him back on was going to make them more money and not less money.
Exactly. See, it all goes back to that. It all goes back to money. It's going to make them more money if they bring him back, and it's going to bring them more attention, and it's going to draw people if they get rid of this woman for having her own opinion. And it's ridiculous because the word unity nowadays really means conform to what we think. And if you don't, you're going to be basically torn down, and it's sickening.
Well, who are you talking about? Because you're making it sound like Biden runs Disney. Disney's
No.
talking about unity.
No. I'm not just talking about him directly. I'm just saying like the whole radical cancel culture. Like that's what they believe in. They say if you say something that we don't agree with, you're going to be ostracized.
I don't think this is part of radical cancel culture, though. I think this is just like people who watch the show don't want to see you saying this shit or whatever shit you're going to say in the future. So we're going to replace you.
And you think it has something to do with her like on the sidelines or like just her being in the show?
I just don't think that Disney wants to associate with people who fly off the handle.
No, yeah, I mean, and nobody does. But the fact of the matter is, she's a really, really popular, actress. And apparently, I think I don't watch the show, so I can't really say too much about it. But I know it's like extremely popular, and a lot of my friends are like, "Dude, I'll let you use my Disney Plus just to watch it." I'm like, "You seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, dude, it's that good." And I'm like, "Okay," but I never got around to it. But I heard it's getting even better because they also brought in the actor from Breaking Bad who played Gus, and he's a fantastic actor. I've seen him in movies even before Breaking Bad. But the thing is that it doesn't really matter because we watch these people in media just to see how good their acting ability is. And some people care about what they say politically, but it shouldn't be the main reason why you watch them, even if it's their own personal life or their own opinion.
Sure. I agree with that. And I think that there's some reasonable expectation of separation. But I really think that so people are comparing what she said to what Pedro Pascal said. But I think part of what it comes down to is they're just saying, okay, how many people are going to stop watching this show because of what Pedro Pascal says? And then is it even possible to replace him? I think they just come up with some calculus of like, probably not that many people are really going to care because it wasn't that offensive.
Yeah.
And Trump supporters are kind of used to being like dogged on by liberals in Hollywood. So that they're also a little more resilient.
Yeah.
And then
so I guess what it comes down to, go ahead.
What she said is going to deeply offend people.
Well, what seems to be happening is there are no clear rules, and that's kind of the problem. Is that they'll say, "Oh, well, you can't joke about the Holocaust. You can't make Holocaust comparisons," and then very quickly you find a Pedro Pascal going, here's Germany in 1944. Here's America with kids in cages. Funny thing is the picture that he has of kids in cages is actually a different country entirely. It's a picture from like 2012, but it's these double standards that I understand drive people nuts.
But do you think this is a double standard? Because I don't.
I think it's a double standard in the reason that they gave. If they wanted to be upfront about exactly what the difference is between something Pedro Pascal tweets and something she tweets, I mean, their statement was that she offended religion. I'm going to find the statement again.
Denigrated people because of their religious.
Denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities. Now, cultural identities, I guess you could say the transgender thing, you maybe could be considered denigrating them based on her little joke. That's questionable. But I don't see her denigrating anyone based on their religious identity. Do you agree with that reading at all?
I think that it is pretty excessively strongly worded, but I think what they are saying is that she is trivializing.
Well, how's that any different from calling Trump Hitler, I mean, to be fair, Trump is literally Hitler, but how's it that's a joke. We're not.
Well, okay, so I think it's different from this tweet, and in this tweet he's saying locking people in cages is locking
I'll
people
be right back, Mr. Vito.
Yeah, for sure. Locking people in cages is not good, no matter what time it is.
Yeah, I don't think that that's trivializing the Holocaust. A
Yeah,
little bit.
I
I
don't
guess it is a
know.
little
It
bit. It's not,
depends.
we're obviously
It
not locking the
depends
kids
on
in
where you.
cages
It
to
depends on where you
exterminate.
land. I mean, it depends if you think, separating kids at the border is the same level. I would say that it's clearly not anything like the Holocaust. We're not I don't want to say what the Nazis did, but they did much worse things to kids than put them in cages. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a double standard because people don't see this and get offended on behalf of Jews.
Yeah.
Jews don't see this and are offended. Jews are the Jews I know, and I know all of them.
Yes. You guys all meet to plan the downfall of society, as we've apparently learned from our haters.
I don't want to fucking see this shit.
Yeah. Let me see.
They're not offended by Pedro Pascal making the comparison.
I don't know. I just think it's
Okay, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Vito. I missed some of the conversation.
Okay. Well, basically, we're saying, I mean, is it hypocritical for Disney to claim that the reason they have to fire her is, causing offense to religious whatever, when, I don't know, man, as somebody pointed out, they're like, on the internet, do you really think people don't make comparisons to Nazis and the Holocaust? Like every other conversation, it's always been a thing where you go, oh, you're acting like Hitler, this is just like the Nazis.
Yeah.
And that's just that's some standard hyperbole. Now, do I think that her saying that the treatment of conservatives is at all similar to what went on in that? I don't agree with that. I think that's hyperbolic, but you have the right to be hyperbolic on the internet, of course.
The difference is that you're saying these poor kids in cages are being treated like the victims of the Holocaust. Gina Carano is saying I'm being treated like the victim of the Holocaust, and I'm not saying there's a lot in the chat about like how this needs to be a fair thing where like perfectly equal standards for both. They're strictly going off of what people are offended by. So I'm not trying to say that Disney is applying the same rule to every person. Like they're not a fucking teacher in a classroom. They're a business. They're gonna fire you if you cost them fucking money. The reason that Gina Carano is going to cost them more money than she's worth with this tweet is that she is comparing herself to a victim of the Holocaust. And lots of people are going to find it really offensive, and they're already rallying to cancel her already, and she's not the main character.
I just think it's crazy that anybody in this day and age can just get shut down by something, like by a media, by a company, or by an individual who complains enough. Like
I think this is a narrative that's been implanted in your supple brain by social media. I think that people have been fired for saying shit when they weren't at work. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, look how clean.
Yeah, it's not a new thing. I mean, as we were talking about, again, we had the communist, crackdown or whatever in the 30s, or I don't know when it was because I'm an idiot, but the 50s, right? That makes much more sense.
Yeah, so like if you want to be famous and you want to be a movie star and you want to work for Disney, you gotta shut your fucking mouth. Now, I have a problem with that. I'm just saying, like, realistically, that's the situation. I don't think they should. Like, I agree. The cleanness is disturbing to me. I love wallowing in my own filth and making other people exactly. I think we should all just be ourselves and accept that everybody has disgusting, weird thoughts and not get fired for it. So I agree with you there. I just don't think it's like a problem of the time specifically now. I think thanks to Trump, we're all kind of allowed to be a little more disgusting and more openly.
Real quick to Awe Thinker, who really wants me to open a Twitter picture and DM it to me on Discord because I can't get your DMs anywhere else. It's not working. All right, well, what do you call it? My good friend, whose name I definitely have not forgotten because he's my best friend and I love him. Shadow Kruger, as always. Thanks for coming by, man. We're going to take some more calls.
Oh, with me?
Right. Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, Mr. Vito.
Okay. I don't know why he keeps calling me Mr. Vito. It's getting
You're
weird.
like a teacher.
I'm not a teacher. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out, they're like, you have a lot of, like, teenagers calling your show. I'm like, oh, God. I am like teaching these people. Somebody sent me a let's talk to Mr. Spice. Mr. Spice, are you there?
Huh. Yes, I am here. Thank you, Vito. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. What's going on, buddy?
Well, I was gonna say, it's very hypocritical of Disney to
Yeah.
have this social stance, which I know that it's definitely money. I mean, everything's about money, but
Right.
publicly they're claiming it's about this social stance. And I guarantee you, somebody mentioned Saudi Arabia, right? If Saudi Arabia was their biggest market, then they would not have any women with skin, showing other than their eyes, and they'd have not even the slightest hint that there could be a gay character in their movies. Like, it would be
Right.
totally
I mean, it is very
censored.
cynical for these companies to claim that they're the leaders of a
Moral
morality
truth, yeah.
for the rest of us, when clearly we know they're not. Like,
And-
I've said it myself. Get out of China, Disney. Stop it.
Yeah,
Just stop.
yeah. I mean,
And if
yeah,
China
like,
tells
I have
you,
nothing
you-
with
yeah, go
I
ahead.
have no problem with Chinese people, because they're all just dealing with the same. They're dealing with it, more worse than we're dealing with it. They're actually dealing with it. I have no problem with them. It's their government, their horrible, concentration camp, fucked up government that I have a problem with, and the way that they work with it just to get money. It's just like I hate the fact that we're allies with Saudi Arabia, and we're just because we want their fucking oil. And it shows that America doesn't really give a shit about freedom. They give a shit about money. We never really gave a shit about communism, hurting the world. We gave a shit about communism getting rid of capitalism, which made us money. I mean,
Sure.
we are allies with Vietnam now, and they are still communists, and we're good allies with them. We never gave a shit. They're just not a threat anymore. Their communism isn't a threat anymore. So we've never had this moral issue. It's always been about money. But something I also wanted to talk about was, with Gina comparing it to the Holocaust and whatever. It's completely stupid to do that. People need to stop comparing everything to the Nazis and the Holocaust, because we're not
Yes.
at that point yet.
Not even close.
But yeah, not even close. But I did want to say, I almost understand what she's saying, purely because I'm looking at it from my point of view. And like me, who I'm bisexual, and
Mhm.
online, for some reason I put that in my fucking Twitter profile, and the amount of people who have DM'd me. In fact, yesterday I was in some Twitter feed, and somebody said, "You ought to be admitted." A horrible thing. It's disgusting, and obviously I understand that that's not the majority of people. Most people, but when you hear that, it feeds your fear. And I've had that fear before of being discriminated against for something like that. Every person who is part of any minority group has had that fear. And when that kind of people say that kind of shit, it feeds that fear. And I'm sure that people have, DM Gina saying, you ought to be fucking murdered for your horrible racist thoughts, right? And because of that, it feeds her fear. And some people don't have the ability to say, that's not a majority of people. Most people aren't that crazy. Some people think, if I'm seeing it this much, it must be the majority of people. And maybe I could believe that she genuinely feels like this is, what she calls anti-conservative propaganda is leading to something like the Holocaust. Obviously, it's not. But I see where she's coming from. And I think we need to understand that fear of something like that happening again is felt by a lot of people. It's not just conservatives, it's liberals too. Any group can feel that fear. And although definitely, I mean, the picture was poor taste. That's all that was poor taste. Comparing
Yeah.
yourself to a woman who is probably dead, probably died there.
I thought that was a step too far, putting the picture. I think
yeah,
it got her in trouble ultimately.
Yeah, it definitely was. But yeah, exactly. But I almost understand she shouldn't have done it. That's why I don't post, the Holocaust is coming. I don't post that because I understand that. And obviously, as a public figure, like somebody said, I think Mr. Girl said it, you just need to shut your fucking mouth. All right? Nobody wants to hear about your politics. In fact,
if you want to have that clean image
exactly.
Disney money.
Exactly. And
yeah, if it was somebody other than Disney, I'd understand being political. But yeah, it does seem like when you agree to work for, the guys who make Mickey Mouse and whatever else,
you're selling your soul.
You are selling your soul. You're agreeing, I'm going to try and look like a squeaky clean, never said a bad word about anybody or their mother.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost have to look at her and go, Gina, it's Disney. Okay, I know they gave you a gun.
Exactly.
Maybe you thought it was something else, but it's still still a giant, stupid corporation that pretends it cares about children.
I agree with that. But what I was thinking, somebody said, comparing what Pedro Pascal said to what Gina said. One, I think Pedro Pascal, at least from my experience, is more famous than Gina. I heard of Pedro way before I heard of Gina because of
Oh,
the
absolutely,
Mandalorian.
he
I'd
is.
never heard of
Yeah,
her before
yeah.
that. Yeah, and he's more famous. He's more loved. And like they said, she posted a picture of a woman getting chased. And even if she wasn't comparing herself to that woman, she was comparing conservatives to that woman, right?
Yeah.
A group that, people could very well argue the same about liberals, right? But Pedro Pascal tweeted a fucking picture of children in cages and compared it to the Holocaust. And yeah, if you watch Holocaust footage, there were children in cages, like that's not obviously after them being in the cages, they went to, gas chambers. So obviously it's not the same, but it's more compatible. And like you said, he's a bigger moneymaker. And it's much harder to get rid of the star of the show than the cool muscly badass lady.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
they have to do
from a cynical standpoint, it's basically Gina and Pedro probably did do basically the same thing. I mean, from
Yeah,
my standpoint, you can't say that she's not allowed to make. Yeah, I know, Mr. Girl, you're saying, well, she made it about herself. He was making it about the plight of kids.
I
but
think that's why people are more offended by it.
Yeah,
If you
I
say
agree with
I
that.
feel like a Holocaust victim, that's different from these poor kids are like Holocaust
because
victims.
there hasn't been someone living in America who has faced anything compared to what the Holocaust was like.
yeah,
In the
unless
past
they came
100
over from
years,
Germany, but they're
people.
probably dead by now.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Right.
people have suffered racism and discrimination and all those things, but still people have not been herded in
Into
mass
camps,
troves
right.
to their deaths. Like
Right.
it was a structured genocide, structured evil. And I think it's time that we stop comparing that horrible atrocity to
Yeah,
anything
you're never gonna get people to stop doing it. It's too easy. It's too easy to go.
It's a very
Yeah.
juicy comparison.
You know what that guy's like? That guy's a real Hitler. It's so easy to anybody you don't like is Hitler. I mean, we see this so often. I'm gonna explode. Sorry for all these internet hiccups, guys. I'm gonna call my ISP tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, but I think we got to go the other way on it and agree that, you know what, these Holocaust comparisons, we know that they're true hyperbole. We know she's not actually saying, oh, I've suffered as much as the Jewish people or whatever else. And ultimately, is it a stupid thing to say? I think it is stupid to say.
It's stupid.
Now,
yeah.
you can say that she's saying it's like the beginnings. I still think it's a bridge too far to go, yeah, let's start bringing the Holocaust into this. No, you can just say it's bad. You don't got to bring the Holocaust into it. You're going to get some people upset. Yeah.
We don't have public, policies implemented against conservatives. I mean, almost half of our representatives in Congress and the Senate are conservatives.
Yeah.
So you
well,
can't make
I mean, I have to
argument.
be fair, and I know what Kevin was saying is she's not saying it's the Nazis. It's the idea of turning your neighbors against yourselves or whatever else. I still don't think we're getting that far into it either. I mean, I see plenty of conservatives. I still hang out with conservatives. I don't think anybody's breeding me to go, kill all my conservative friends or chase.
No, I mean, if you compare the Biden talks about
points you can get on a spectrum.
Well,
Mr. Girl, say that again because I just had a
like,
hiccup. Can you say that again?
Is she getting fired because she's wrong?
No, I don't think she. I honestly.
Oh, what part? I was saying that the way Biden talks about conservatives is nothing like the way Hitler talked about Jews.
Again, I think that post of hers, if it was just text, I'd be like, yeah, she kind of has a point. But she showed a woman fleeing down the street being beaten up, and you're like, that's a little much. That's not happening.
But if she had made that post and said, this is like the way conservatives talk about black people, they're conditioning us to hate black people, that may be not true.
Yeah.
But I don't think she would get fired for it.
Well, I don't think she deserved to get fired, but I think it makes sense that she got fired in this world. And I did want money, and I'm not mad at
of them saying that it's because of their
that's what
political
I'm mad
beliefs.
about. And like, I can honestly, I'm more left leaning, but I'm not gonna watch The Mandalorian, see her, and be like, she's still on, and turn it off. I'm still gonna watch The Mandalorian because I don't care. And I honestly think a majority of people aren't on Twitter and they don't care. Thousand people tweeting at them and saying, "How dare this?" Maybe
That can
if you want to
spread.
get real generous, 50,000 people. Let's just
That
jump
can
it up
spread,
there.
though.
That's what they see. Yeah, it can spread. That's for sure. And
Things
especially
that
if
start
media
out in
spreads it,
Twitter world
which-
can
yeah,
become real world. Wait, Vito is not in his chair anymore.
Okay,
Is that-
sorry, I was just like taking a look at my router because I keep getting these stupid hiccups.
Wow.
Anyway, Mr. Spice, I appreciate what you're saying. I think we're on the same page where
yeah,
these
yeah,
are
thanks for
cynical.
having me on,
These
Vito.
are cynical corporations. They're acting in their own, what they believe is their own best financial interest. And maybe it's time we need to tell them, I don't know, just let people say stuff. Don't take it so seriously. You know what it really comes down to, though, is I don't think we can look at the corporations to do it. I think we, the people, have to do it. And when people start these stupid hashtag campaigns saying, get Gina fired, fire Gina, we have to go, what are you doing? Stop it. This is not how we handle these things. There's no reason. Look, if you're mad about what she says, why don't you talk about it? Why don't you... But you don't got to try and go after her job. And that's ultimately what ends up, forcing Disney's hand as they see these boycott campaigns. Does that make sense? Mr. Girl? Oh, I think I unplugged my...
Yeah, I can hear you. Shadow Cougar, I can hear you. I don't know if the audience can, and I don't know if Vito can.
Wait, is Shadow Kruger on here?
Yeah.
No, I unmuted somebody. All right, let's talk to Ethan real quick. Ethan, are you there?
Wait, can you not hear him, Vito?
Hold on one second. Oh, is he talking? Is Shadow Kruger
Shadow
talking?
Kruger is talking to me.
Okay,
and-
I have server muted him. I need to server mute people. Okay,
yeah,
now
yeah,
he's gone.
yeah. So I think you muted him just for yourself.
Yeah, I forgot how the mute function works. Okay, let's talk to Ethan. Ethan,
How you doing? Good to be
I'm
on
doing
again.
good. Yes. How are
this
you?
is a really strange situation we're in, and a topic that we're discussing. It's a good topic, but where to begin? So I'm kind of on two fences here. I think on one hand, someone in her position and the brand that she's representing and the character she also is, I think there are certain things that really shouldn't be said. And I can kind of agree with her losing some of her privileges at where she's working at right now to do that. Now I don't know about her whole job, but I think what should have been done was she should have had a call of some sort. Now we don't know. I don't know if she had gotten like a slap on the wrist and said, hey, you better start not doing what you're saying because it's really affecting how we're doing things here. I don't know if she had a talking prior to this, and if she just kept going. I don't know. But I can kind of understand that, running your mouth for so long inappropriately for what you're kind of representing is going to come with consequences. I think I saw a comment somewhere saying, we all have the freedom of speech, but we don't have the freedom of consequence.
Sure, but you could say the same thing about you have the freedom to be black and walking around with a toy gun in your hand, but you're gonna get shot. No, them's the breaks, buddy. I think that what we're talking about is, should this be the consequence? In a perfect world, if you were in charge of Disney, what would you do?
Well, I wouldn't fire her. I don't think she should have lost her job. I think what probably should have happened was she probably would have lost some sort of privileges, and I don't really know how that kind of...
Well, but ultimately, here's the problem that she did not, I guess, realize is, she's dispensable. She's not worth enough to the Disney Corporation for them to waste any time being like, oh, you can apologize, and, oh, it's okay that you're pissing off half her fan base. They don't want anything to do with it. Ultimately, they just don't want to waste any amount of resources worrying about what, I hate to say it, a B-grade actress is talking about on Twitter. Why?
But you're saying that's an unethical position to take, and that they should say, "Well, we have to try to reform you or get you on board with how we need you to present yourself, and not just, torture."
I think it's.
brother."
Go ahead.
I don't think she should have lost her. Now I don't think she really was expendable. I think she was too far in. I think firing her is as big as firing Pedro on The Mandalorian. We're already seeing the statistics of people canceling Disney Plus right now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if those numbers really are anything meaningful. I think the most people who subscribe to Disney Plus, I don't know. I mean, I guess do you think this has a meaningful effect on the Disney Plus numbers?
Oh,
I mean, they got it. I wonder how many people who say they're canceling it even had Disney Plus.
I mean, if Netflix left Cuties up, I think this is gonna blow.
Well, that's
over.
the thing. Netflix survived the Cuties cancellation. I don't think that was a big thing.
But
I didn't cancel my Disney Plus. I still gotta watch. What do you call it? WandaVision.
Mr. Girl made that that review.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I don't really like to, because I love Mr. Girl. I love what you make, man. But it's kind of like something right here, where you made something and it's just the masses will flock. And I don't know if it's just the YouTube algorithm that took your channel down, or if it was like manually, taken down. But it's kind of something where I don't know if you're representing a big.
My review is was on the channel though. So do you think it would be like if I lost my job, if these people actually found out where I work, and nobody's been able to do that yet, but if they did, they found out where I work and got me fired, which I don't know if I would get fired. I kind of think that my boss would be like, "You people are stupid," but who knows?
Yeah.
Would that be? Is that like you got free speech, but you're not freedom from consequences? Nobody wants the Cuties guy, as I've become known as, working at their company.
Right. Well, I don't think her. I don't really think her career is permanently gone. I would say. I think she can easily go on another show and movie. After all this, I don't think it's going to be.
I don't think she can. I think she will have trouble getting more work because she's going to be known. No, here's the thing about these companies.
This level of work, I don't think she'll have.
These companies don't want to deal with any nonsense. All right, it's already making a movie. Let's put it clear. Maybe Disney can bear the brunt or whatever, but if you're a smaller production company and you're trying to put a little film together, and you got to worry about if your film is going to lose money based on the fact that the actress can't shut up. I mean, it's this complicated juxtaposition between capitalism and free speech. I can't tell a corporation that. Well, I mean, I can't tell a corporation, hey, you got to lose money to support what this lady's saying because she doesn't want to shut her mouth. My question is, was what she's saying? Again, I don't put the onus on the corporations. I put the onus on the public. Is onus the right word there?
Yeah.
We need the public to get over this shit. Okay. She said being a conservative is like being a Jew. You might think that's stupid. But you're really going to stop watching The Mandalorian because she's not even like the most important character. Who cares?
That's just fake liberal outrage. That's people saying this woman's racist, and they're like, what? She's racist? What'd she say? And then they say she said this, and if you don't agree it's racist, then you're racist. And then liberals are like, oh yeah, cancel her. She is racist. And then it just kind of like snowballs from there. So I completely agree that this is just kind of fear-based fake outrage.
Well, it's these people pretending they have more power than they do. I mean, it's a bunch of liberals getting together and going, if you don't fire her, we're going to destroy the Mandalorian. You aren't going to do shit. Shut up. And why do you care? She's a secondary character. Now, granted, they wanted to give her own TV show, and I could see how that would have been. Again, if you're going to be the lead star of a show, shut your mouth, get rid of your social media. Like, nobody wants to hear it. You can talk about all that after your show ends. 4 or 5. You have 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. Then you can go and talk whatever you want. You can, hail Hitler wherever you want. But ultimately, I don't know. I guess I wish people cared less about other people's. Ultimately, I don't care what this woman thinks about masks. I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect my enjoyment of The Mandalorian at all. Like, I never liked her character to begin with, so maybe it's helpful that she's stupid on social media. But
somebody in chat earlier said that she has a victim complex.
Yeah. Well, a lot of
that's possible. Do you think she's trying to create this situation so that
so she can be a victim, and that's it? Well,
yeah,
it is
she's being self-destructive.
It's an interesting thing in the conservative sphere is that you can get canceled. And those who get canceled usually end up monetizing it in certain ways and having a whole career based on being canceled. We were talking about Owen Benjamin earlier. Yeah. I mean, Owen Benjamin,
yeah,
a comedian.
She could start a YouTube channel, making
who
a fucking shitload of money now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I say that to people. I have a buddy who's being canceled, and I told him straight up, I'm like, listen, man, if you don't get uncanceled, you can always join one of these right-wing cancel committees, and they'll, victimhood is worth. We live in a victimhood culture. Being a victim has currency. I mean, right now, people feel bad for Gina Carano. It's very possible that maybe she gets work based on the fact that people feel bad for her and want to give her opportunities based on that. It's a very interesting thing. Now, ultimately, do I think that's, being a right-wing victim, having a career based on that? Would I rather star in a flagship Disney Star Wars product? Absolutely. I think that's clearly better. So I don't think this was an intentional, I'm going to create a victimhood situation for myself for clout.
I mean more like a compulsive psychological...
A compulsive need to see yourself as the victim?
And to create situations in which you are. I mean, she was calling herself a victim in the tweet, and now she is getting to play the victim. It
is ultimately what it comes down to is Disney really screwed this up, I'm going to say. Because I look at this and I go, this sucks for me as a guy who wants to be able to criticize Gina Carano's speech, because I do disagree with her when she posts stuff like, being a conservative is, the same as what led to the Holocaust. I want to be able to fight with her about it. I want to be like, no, that's wrong. It's not the same. And then Disney comes in and fires her, and I go, well, I mean, I hate to say you're kind of proving her point, but yeah, you're kind of proving her point a little bit. Not exactly, but we can't even have that conversation because she's fired. And this isn't going to go down in history as that time that Disney took issue with a Holocaust thing or whatever. It's going to go down in history as Disney does not allow conservative voices to have opinions, which frankly their liberal counterparts have. We have Pedro Pascal with, I don't know, is kind of in the same vein. I'll bring it up again. We can take a look. I think it's very similar to what we're talking about here. Ultimately, I'm mad about what's happened here. And for Awe Thinker who wants me to bring this up, yes, we mentioned this, that Pedro Pascal did not use a picture of children in America. So this tweet is nonsense what Pedro had, saying that America, I don't know. Some people think there's kids in cages and it's the Holocaust or whatever else. I never bought into that idea. I don't know. This is ultimately a very, it's not even an interesting situation. This is a stupid situation that did not need to happen. This situation, it does not need to exist, and it's annoying that it exists. All right.
I don't think it.
Ethan.
Yeah.
I'll give you the final word. Final word.
Vito, go ahead and bring Grodd on. I want to see that guy.
Oh God. All right. Yeah, we'll bring on Grodd in a second. This is just, it's stupid. Don't fight. How about just have the standard Disney answer and say, I want to be. Oh, somebody sent me a very nice message. Thank you, Roxy. Why not just have the standard Disney message and say, we have no plans to revisit her character, but we appreciate all the hard work that she's done on The Mandalorian. And that's it. Why did Lucasfilm have to make it into a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why did they have to, as part of the statement, say, we are horrified by these things she said on... Just don't get involved. How's that? I think it would have been one of these things where everybody goes, they probably don't want to work with her because she's crazy. But why'd you have to come out and say what you said? I think it's
denigrating people.
Denigrating people. You're creating a whole, hornet's nest when people go down the rabbit hole and then they're going, well, what about what Pedro Pascal said? What about what Jon Favreau said? And you go, yeah. I mean, they have a point. They have a point with some of this stuff. I think they have a point. It's very okay to make Holocaust comparisons in almost every situation.
Yeah.
Just if you're a right-wing person doing it, you can't do it.
I think they do invite some outrage back at Disney by doing it the way they did it, instead of just saying she's a little unhinged and we need somebody who's gonna I don't know. Maybe
real quick, I want to highlight Dr. Cataclysm says, how many people in Disney have other Nazis or made similar comparisons? How many people in Disney have denigrated entire genders or white people? Yeah. You know what?
It's not about fairness. White people just don't get that offended.
Right.
The way people get offended when you.
Well, white people do. A lot of us just go, yeah, whatever.
And I would say white people should get more offended than they do.
Yeah.
I feel like we're mixing up the value judgment here of like whether, the question in the stream title, did she deserve to get fired? No, I don't think so.
No.
But can we understand why they would fire her? Yeah.
We understand the reasons. We understand the financial motivations. And ultimately, I want to go to the people we have to change as a society. This is a society thing. When somebody says something that offends you, if it was like totally reprehensible, and again, she's like a Disney employee, if she went out there and said, black people are subhuman, you'd go, okay, she's on a show which is basically aimed at kids. People are following her account. You can almost make the what is that clause that they put, the moral whatever clause that they put in contracts where you have to be a moral barometer.
Or she went out there and
show.
She said she liked cuties.
Right. She said that she enjoys watching famous Netflix.
We can't associate with you.
Can't be a part of that. This is Disney. We only hire pedophiles. No, we don't watch movies about them. Did you ever see there's that movie that Disney put out that was directed by a guy who had already been convicted of whatever the hell?
That guy who directed
the movie
Powder?
Powder, yeah.
Yeah. He got convicted after that.
Did he? I thought he got convicted prior. Hold on, I'm going to try and look it up
while they were making it?
No, I think he got, convicted, and then he made the movie, afterwards. Let's see.
He's, the only for sure...
the film was a financial success, but critical reviews were mixed, and the film's release was dogged with controversy due to Salva's prior conviction for child sex abuse. Not a good person to get to direct your movie.
I think
go ahead.
It happened while. I don't know.
I've got it right here. I'll read it.
Okay.
The film's production by Disney. Okay. He was convicted of molesting a 12-year-old child actor during the production of his previous film, Clown House. He was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment and released after 15 months. Disney officials say they only learned of Salva's crime after production of Powder had begun.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I guess that was before the internet.
Yeah, well, I guess that was back when you could do whatever, get away with it, you serve your 3 years, and then you make Powder for Disney. What is
like our high school principal?
That is true. We've brought this up before. What's the website? What was the guy's name? It was
Stephen Myers.
Stephen Myers.
Search for Stephen Myers. So unlike a unpopular weirdo YouTuber who you guys like to call a pedophile, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Our principal of our high school was actually a real pedophile and a child molester.
Our high school principal, the great Dr. Steven Jackson, a.k.a. Steve Myers, a.k.a. he changes his name a lot, has been traveling around the world molesting children for 50 years now. And we really hope it'll stop.
Caught.
Yeah.
He gets caught. He just moves on to another city, gets another job as a teacher or principal, and he's just been doing this for decades.
I gotta make a video about this guy because it is
You should.
legitimately
It's fucking
horrifying.
fascinating.
Yeah, my principle, because you got this website is great. Whoever has this website is all the schools he taught at, and then after he got kicked out of our high school, he was a substitute teacher in Colorado. But then he realized he could go to South Africa and start abusing kids in Africa. Went to England. I mean, he was teaching in California in 2012.
He's raped kids. He's on a kid raping world tour.
Oh, right now he was in China in 2018, raped some kids there. Then he went to Kazakhstan.
Jesus
he can't
fucking
stop.
Christ.
How do they not get this guy? All right, and now they're saying he's employed at a Barnes and Noble on Colorado Boulevard in Glendale, in Denver. We gotta go to the Barnes and Noble and confront him. He's just
Steve
there
Myers
working, and apparently
the James Bond. He's the
of
James
child
Bond
molestation
of child molesters.
It's insane. As recently as March 2019, he solicited a young boy, offering a modeling job in Denver. People do not understand that these guys get away with this forever. And the worst part of this, the worst part of the whole story is that he had an adopted son who then murdered somebody. So he probably molested the kid, then the kid became a murderer. This is horrible. So, for those of you who think that me and Max do not care about catching pedophiles, we want this guy. We want our former high school...
Dox this motherfucker.
Yeah,
Stop trying to put my
go get Dr.
phone
Steve
number out
Myers.
there.
This man is a legitimate threat to children. Please, if you are
We
in
should
Denver...
make a video about this.
I want to find out if he's in Denver working at the Barnes & Noble. I want to go there and just be like, dude, why don't you stop?
Yeah.
Why don't you stop? Why don't you go buy like a blow-up doll and like paste, Jonathan Taylor Thomas's head on it and just molest that thing. Leave these kids alone.
Yeah.
Point is, we are very off track. We were talking about the movie Powder.
I hate him.
Well, you have to hate him.
Yeah.
Well, because he's an example.
I like viscerally hate him.
He's an example of how off base we are in this country. That, I mean, a lot of people are talking about this Gina Carano thing, and they're trying to.
Nobody's talking about this actual rapist, and who we know where he is, and like nobody. It's like he's done it in so many different places that there's no like single agency. Like I guess the FBI should be.
That's why I'm mad. I'm mad at these guys like Cernovic and whatever that other guy's name is, who they whip up this thing against James Gunn. They did it to the Dan Harmon, and they go, these guys, they're part of these guys are injecting pedophilia into Hollywood, and they're gonna whatever. There are legitimate people going around the country, and you are doing. Why are you not? This guy's been doing it for 50 years.
Yeah,
it sucks. And you guys want to stop the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy because he made a joke?
It literally
10 years ago.
So I can understand, like, like being a serial killer. You're like, there's a lot of parts of my life, and like, one part of it is that I'm a serial killer.
Yeah.
And then there's like you're only a serial killer. Like this guy's like Michael Myers. Like it looks like his entire life is only about molesting kids.
You would think that after you get caught like 2 or 3 times, yeah, that's the thing. He does not care and he will not stop.
Yeah.
How do you get caught and like removed from a community? Like everyone hates your guts, and you go, "Oh, I'll just go to China because I can probably molest kids in China."
Yeah, I don't even know how you'd begin to go about accomplishing that.
He must be mentally ill.
So
yeah,
for sure. There's something super fucking wrong with him. So yeah, I'm usually against like imprisonment and like punishment. Definitely against capital punishment. I feel like he should be locked up for life. I feel like this is an example of somebody who's just like you're just not going to stop. There's nothing.
They have
no reform. There's nothing.
They have that prison in California where you get sent after you serve a sentence for whatever, and they go, even though you served your sentence, we cannot release you. You are still a risk, and you're basically locked up there indefinitely. And at one point, I was like, "Oh, that's like cruel and unusual." And then I talked to somebody who actually worked there, and she was like, "Dude, you don't understand. Like, these are guys who, like, the second they get out, they will attempt to offend again. Like, we just know it. Like."
Yeah.
we like anytime they have gotten out, they have immediately gone back to like whatever, and you're like, yeah, I mean, it's basically like a mental hospital at that point where you're like, yeah, dude, I don't know, you just can't be trusted.
Yeah. I wish jail wasn't like so torturous and horrible, but like, yeah, a mental hospital where these people can't get out, that would be good.
Well, we're very off topic, but let's. You got to head out, right? It's 7.
I do.
All right, man. Well, why don't you give us a plug? Where do we find the new Mr. Girl experience?
Yeah, so my first channel got deleted. It was called Mr. Girl. So this one's called Mr. Girl Returns because I'm back.
YouTube.com/Mr. Girl Returns. And real quick, I want to bring up your apology video is just fantastic.
Yeah. So you can see my new apology video, which kind of functions as like a channel trailer in a way.
It is a channel trailer, yeah.
It is. Giving you an idea of, what things are all about over at the Mr. Girl.
I've watched your apology video. I mean, right now you're on my screen molesting yourself. I've watched it multiple times. It's fantastic. And I've even seen people who hate you comment on it. They're like, man, that is really well made.
They're like, I hate this guy.
They're like, that is pretty funny. And it's a perfect summary of the entire Mr. Girl experience. So if you're somebody who hates Mr. Girl and you've been waiting for an apology, I highly recommend you go to youtube.com/Mr. Girl Returns and watch this brilliant apology. It's fantastic. And then you can head on over to his other site and watch the uncensored version, which I'm sure people will want to do.
Yeah. So I have my website is plugged all over my channel.
Absolutely.
For when this one gets deleted too.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming by. I'm going to take some more calls here, but I appreciate you always.
I appreciate you as well.
Have fun, brother. All right, that was the great Mr. Girl. I got people in the chat. They're like, wait, is that the guy? Hell yeah, that's the guy. Look. I'm on the record. Mr. Girl makes great videos, and you should be watching them. I hate to say it. I know it makes some people mad. How dare you? I don't care. He makes great videos. They're hilarious. How many subs did he had before? Like 2,000, and then they canceled his channel, which is awful. If we're talking about cancel culture, if you don't like what he says, you have every right to do it. If you false flag the guy, not okay. I'm going to give Grodd a minute. Grodd, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Grodd, what's up?
I'm glad that pedophile's gone.
Oh, come on!
He doesn't make good videos. He makes bad ones, but I'm glad he's gone. I'm here to talk about. You are so off on the Gina thing. She did nothing wrong. She wasn't comparing conservatives to Jews. She wasn't comparing what's happening now to the Holocaust. What she was doing was pointing out a historical example where what preceded the Holocaust was exactly the same cultural shift that's happening right now against.
I don't think it's exactly the same.
Conservatives, just anybody who doesn't toe the left liberal line perfectly.
I don't think it's exactly the same. I think the comparisons are very flimsy at best. Nobody is. First of all,
we literally have people assaulting Trump supporters, capturing their hats as a game, and then they post videos online, making fun of it. Just a little while ago, someone in Portland, a Trump supporter, was stalked and murdered by an insane leftist because he was a Trump supporter. And he was for doing this murder, Mr. Rono was lauded. It was basically worshipped. So yeah, there absolutely is a culture happening where it's okay to hate the conservatives. It's okay to go after them, to take them down, and in this case, it's okay to cancel them. Even when you can compare what they did to what another similar person had done. And you're very hypocritical. You will stand up for your butt buddy, Mr. Girl,
who did nothing wrong,
being an out pedophile.
He's not a pedophile.
We can argue whether that's wrong, but you'll stand up for him despite being canceled. But you support the cancellation of other people for expressing their opinions privately. It's disgusting. We should be able to have our private opinions.
Grodd, whose cancellation did I support?
Well, you're supporting this.
I clearly said she shouldn't be fired. I said that.
But you also said Disney is fine to do it, and that's.
I
their
said,
prerogative.
you know, I understand why they did it. I wish they hadn't. Hold on 1 second. Someone's yelling at me. Hello? I have a package. Grodd, talk about something.
I'll entertain them. All right. Well, Vito's gone. Real quick. All right. The Illuminati are gonna terminate me for letting you know
The Grodd show. The Grodd show.
Oh,
Stop it! Stop it! What are you trying to indoctrinate?
Secrets that
Okay, Grodd.
that
Look,
people can't be let known.
there are certain situations. Let's put it this way. I wish there was a way. I don't support firing Gina, first of all, because I think what she did is not that big a deal. Nothing she posted was hateful. I don't have to agree with what she said. I don't agree with her saying that what's happening is similar to what led up to the Holocaust. I think that's hyperbole, but she's allowed to use hyperbole. I don't think what she said is...
Well,
honestly,
warning.
it's not offensive at all, with the things she said. I think it was more offensive when she, started making fun of pronouns. I think that was probably what got her in the most trouble behind the scenes.
Why is that? Hold on, Vito. Who are you to say what her pronouns are or are not a joke?
I'm pretty sure her pronouns are not actually boop and beep.
How do you know it's not boop, beep, boop?
Because they're not. She knows they're not.
My pronouns are... I identify as a rafflecopter, and my pronouns are
Okay.
I'm very serious about that. I am very serious.
Here's the thing. I don't think I'm being hypocritical, because I've said I don't think she deserves to be fired. I don't know where you're getting that I said she deserves to be fired, because I don't agree with that. I think the things she said, honestly, are pretty tame. I think some of them are kind of annoying and stupid, but I don't really care enough to say that she shouldn't have a job. The only thing I was saying in regards to Disney is that Disney is a big organization who just doesn't want to deal with this shit. And they probably go, you know what? It's probably just easier to fire her so we don't have to deal with all these, fans crying about it. So,
people are going to cry about anything, all right? I find it funny you say the numbers matter when it comes to people crying on Twitter about literally nothing. But the numbers don't matter when it comes to people unsubscribing from Disney Plus, which they are doing en masse.
Well, it's very possible that they didn't
say one of them matters. And
it's very possible that they did not expect this backlash, and they did the calculation. They thought it would save them more money to fire her, and maybe they're wrong. I don't know the numbers of people who are canceling. It's probably more than the people who actually cared about what she was posting. I don't know.
I disagree that they had a backlash. They had some blips of whining on Twitter. People are going to whine on Twitter about anything.
It was trending.
People whined on Twitter about every episode of Mandalorian that came out.
Fire Gina Carano was trending. It looks bad for Disney to have a trending topic about one of their stars said something kind of stupid about the Holocaust. As I've said,
they reacted immediately.
Well,
they
it's
didn't
not
even
like
wait to see if there would be lasting consequences. They just nixed her on the spot.
Well,
right away.
The problem is that if this was the first thing she'd ever done, okay. But I think the problem is they got tired of dealing with this time after time. It's a very complex...
It was an ideological choice, not a business choice.
I don't know. I think it is a business choice, ultimately. Because they let it go multiple other times. It's just... She constantly has the controversy around her. My point is that I think the controversy is unwarranted.
I find it funny that having, an opinion that 50% of America shares is controversy, that you think it's such...
Well, 50% of America doesn't believe that the conservative... whatever. What's happening to conservatives is the same as the lead up to the Holocaust,
Well, I think...
Why do I have Owen Benjamin on my screen right now? I have the wrong thing on my screen.
I do think that there's a good argument that can be made for that. And that could be an interesting discussion. But here's the thing. If you just shut down the discussion, the problem is that now, it can't even be discussed. So whether it's even happening, whether it's happening or not, if it can't be discussed, it could be happening, but nobody can talk about it. And then how do you stop it if you can't talk about it? So if it actually is happening,
I mean,
it would
it's
be really
not
important to be able to talk about it.
Disney hasn't told her she can't talk about it. They just told her you can't talk about it and be on our show. Doesn't stop her from talking about it.
I think that's a problem. You know, when you are working, you are working. I don't think there's a good point to having any job, even a star, where you can't have a personal opinion separate from the work itself. If companies go this route, what they should do is just have a complete moratorium on all social media. Disable your Facebook, disable your Twitter, disable everything. If we find out you social media presence, you get terminated. Just do that. That's fair. That's equal. That removes. But that's the thing. They don't actually care about preventing people from, saying the things. They want them to say the things that they like.
Well, they want them to say, watch The Mandalorian, 8 p.m. on CBS or whatever.
I'm just saying, if it was a real business decision, that's the real business decision that you would make. That's what it would be. But that's not what they're doing.
Well,
so
I think
clearly an ideological.
I think there's a business value in having social media, though. I think having your stars interacting on social media is kind of a prerequisite for being a star these days. What's that? Let the business have control.
Yeah. The same moratorium, no personal. But that's if it's a business decision, and say, hey, this is the contract. You want to work for us? We demand no social presence. That's just how it is. We'll give you a social presence, but you have to approve your
every tweet you send. We have to look at it and make sure it's okay.
If it was a business decision, that's how they would do it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they don't do that. Being Disney, I'm surprised they don't have something like that. One problem is that organization is so big and has so many actors involved with it that they can't manage everybody's tweets. It's not like Gina Carano is like the star of the show or anything.
Well, she was important and a lot of people liked her. But now I'm not saying I agree with the idea I suggested. I think people should be able to say whatever they want in their private life, and unless they're pretending to represent the company or working in their job capacity, it shouldn't matter.
Okay, but it always comes down to the question is always how do you I don't know what the word is. How do you combine free speech and capitalism? Because the problem is that your speech can have an effect on the bottom line. If I come out and I say Vito's ice cream parlor loves ISIS and donates a portion of our profits to the ISIS, whatever the hell, people are going to stop buying my ice cream, and I don't blame them for it,
Yeah, you issue a statement that the personal views of, someone like who may be an employee does not represent the company.
Sure, but you're still.
That's simple. That's what they did.
If I have a Disney Plus subscription, then I'm indirectly putting money in Gina Carano's pocket, and she's being. Let's put it this way: what if Gina Carano again had said something truly reprehensible? It said, "I think black people are subhuman and should be erased from the face of the earth." If she had said that, and now she's a star on a show that kids are watching, and she's a representative of the show, would you be okay firing her for saying something like that?
Unless she's pretending to represent the company, no.
But she represents the show. She is the show.
Do not reflect our views. No, she's not the show. She's an actor.
You can buy action figures of her. It's her likeness.
Right. Yeah, that's the character that the actor plays.
So you think that no matter what anybody says, that they should be able to keep their jobs in that? I could come out and I could say, I think that we should go into the streets and what if it was the other way around? What if it was an actress who says, I think...
Come on, Vito, finish that thought.
I think conservatives should be hunted down and murdered like dogs. And you'd say, well, that's her right as an actress to say that, and for kids to tune in, and they go, I like this lady, I'm going to follow her on Twitter. Indirectly promoting her views.
Let's say you're working for Disney and you say that. Disney should say, these views do not express those of Disney, nor any of its products or characters, and should not,
And what do I say? What about when I go to Disney? Okay, I go to Disney and I go, listen, my kid watched The Mandalorian, really liked The Mandalorian, wanted to learn more about this actress, Gina Carano. She's over on Twitter talking about wanting to murder me and my whole family. How dare you expose my children? How dare you expose my children to this hatred?
Wait, saying like wanting, thinking that something should happen as opposed to calling out to let's murder is different. But still,
Okay,
yeah,
if she said all
separate.
conservatives are useless scum, they are lower than the lowest dog in the yard, and your kid, who, you know, you're a conservative family, and your kid goes and he finds Gina Carano is poisoning your kid's mind and telling him that your whole way of life is whatever.
I still don't think that should, as long as it's not a direct call to violence, as long as it's an opinion.
All right.
That-
Well, at least you're accepting. At least you're accepting that there is a limitation of some sort.
You know, I want to ask you when this comes down to, let's say people who like, you know, freedom, being able to choose for yourself, you know.
Yeah,
choose your own
I
life.
personally hate
Let's say-
freedom, as you
let's say-
know. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, exactly. Let's say that now becomes the verboten stance, and anyone who speaks out for freedom, should be canceled. Because I'm sorry, freedom is detrimental to the bottom line of a lot of companies. It's a lot easier when you're forced to buy certain things. You know, are you going to stand up then? Because it's going to be too late then, because all of the other freedoms will have been taken away by the time.
That's gonna be the price of my speech. Free speech has a price. Sometimes you're gonna say something unpopular.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes
Okay, but I can't tell my employer
career.
I love freedom, so you have to give me a job. Like, you just got to be willing to you got to go, you know what? This stance I'm about to take is more important than my ability to function in a capitalist society. I mean, that's why I want universal basic income. You know how much more free speech you're going to have when people don't have to worry about an income from a job? You're going to have all the free speech you want.
The state.
The state won't take
if you
your...
offend the state will take... How can you be sure they won't?
If universal basic income says you're not allowed to talk shit about the government, we'll have a real big problem. I don't think that's going to happen.
It won't say that, but that's not necessarily how it'll work.
Oh, okay. Behind the scenes, they'll do it.
Well,
All
we've
right.
already got a lot of stuff done behind the scenes. They'll excuse it. They'll think of who knows any other way.
All right, Grod, I'm going to take another call real quick.
They don't have to justify themselves to anyone.
Sure. Tell me how big a hypocrite I am. You get 2 seconds.
The biggest.
The
huge.
biggest. Huge. He's huge. He's big league. Hypocrite Vito. All right. Let's talk to Nicolades, as always. Nicolades, you there?
Hey, Vito.
What's up, buddy?
I've opened the game, and let me close it for a second. There we go. All right.
For those of you wondering if I'm playing Battlefront, this is actually me watching someone else play Battlefront. I'm not playing any games tonight. I just figured, it's Star Wars footage, something in the background.
All right. Can you hear your voice to my...
Yeah, I can. You're good. You're good. What's going on, buddy?
All right. Nothing much. I just learned that the grandfather of one of my best friends from when I was a baby just died. So that's
wonderful. A lot of deaths going on these days.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think about this? Once again,
talk about it.
Remind everybody where you're calling from.
I'm from Greece.
And how is Greece's? Do you guys cancel people?
Where the locked up kids are from here.
Yeah, that's where we get all our locked up kids. How does Greece feel about canceling people? Do you guys cancel people in Greece?
I think it's hard over here since we don't really care.
Yeah, you can get away with saying anything.
The only people we care to cancel are Nazis because we have done this.
Yes.
And we have closed up the prison. We had a political party that was specifically neo-Nazis. It was called New Dawn. You could not argue that they were not neo-Nazis since they were doing rallies where they were doing a similar post to the Nazi one.
Right.
And they were actually committing murder, literal murder. I'm not kidding.
Why are we laughing? This is terrible. Why are we laughing about this?
Murder a hip hop artist.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We closed them to prison, by the way. All the
New Dawn people are in prison.
That party is in prison right now.
Oh my God! I gotta read up on all this. Jesus.
I'm obviously somewhat exaggerating since I don't really care about them, but they literally killed somebody, not a hip hop, a rap artist who was arguing against them publicly on.
Did they manage to? Did they manage to kill him? Is it this Pablo guy?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Oh my god.
They
Well,
were such idiots.
Well, living in a country that has actual Nazis, or did, what do you think about this situation with Gina Carano says some things, makes some comparisons, and loses her job?
Well, obviously, we live in an age where everybody has to hate everybody,
Yeah.
and everybody's pretending that like Trump did not contribute into that, or generally the American culture contributed into that.
Right.
You were literally doing that with communists.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody who thought their neighbor was a communist, they would lynch him publicly. I know. I think there was that.
Yeah, we had a period of time in this country where we accused everybody of being communists. We'd blacklist you. Yeah. And we still apparently there's a big backlash against communism now. I don't really get it. I think it's overblown, but a lot of people are very worried about communists influencing the government.
It's skewed, I would say. Anything that's for the public, it's for some reason considered communist.
Yeah.
Well, everything that's private, it's capitalist, which is a bit overblown, a bit wrong, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, do you think people
anyway,
do you think people should be fired though for their tweets of what's going on?
No.
Do you think your social media should come into question whenever you take on a
depends
job?
She was obviously a public figure, and one of the many faces of Disney.
Yeah.
Which means either Disney wants it or not, her words, even if they say publicly, every actor does not speak for us, well, people are gonna say bullshit. Well, then why are you paying them if you do not agree with them?
Yeah.
That's what everybody on Twitter will say. If suddenly a company says we need to start killing officials, we need to start killing officials. Wait a second. Let me word it better. If not a company,
well, I think you can go too far. I think Roseanne. I don't know if you know Roseanne, where you're from. She was a sitcom actress. She compared a black woman. She said she looked like an ape. She said some other things about a school shooting survivor. She said he reminded him of Hitler. This was a thing where I went, you know what? Again, you're the product. You're the show. At a certain point, you've just poisoned the well so much that people aren't going to watch the show anymore. It's different for actors and actresses where you can go too far because you are the product. I mean, people have to like you, Roseanne. It's not like you're working behind a desk and no one ever sees you. It's like you have to be likable. You have to have people like you and want to watch your show. And if you're tweeting out things that are, controversial or whatever else, you can get into trouble. But, this was Roseanne attacking, actual people. Gina did not attack anybody. She was saying, my treatment, I was mistreated. It's not anywhere near this level of, saying mean things about other people. And I think that's what got Roseanne in trouble. But with Gina, or, when they tried to fire James Gunn for making jokes, he wasn't making jokes about actual people. He was just making jokes in general. I think if you're on social media and you're using it and you're making fun of, you're making fun of people and picking on people. Now you can say, well, what about all the people who pick on Trump? Trump's the president. I think it's okay to pick on. If you're the most powerful man in the world, I think people are allowed to make fun of you.
Over here, what we call the president of the United States, we call him Planetarchy, which has the word planet in it, of course.
Yeah.
And Archy, which means the leader of the planet. We literally see the president of the United States as the leader of the planet, meaning the prestige on this and the critique that will come to that person is equivalent to that.
Yeah. Yeah,
literally.
it's just it depends on what you're saying, and I'm not even saying you can't go on social media and fight with people and make fun of other people. It just depends on who you're doing it. I mean, Roseanne was calling out, love him or hate him, that David Hogg kid. I mean, he survived a school shooting. It just looks really bad for your sitcom when you make fun of that kid. I hate to say it. And you can say, oh, well, they just, they do that because he's a kid and they know he can't be criticized. Yeah, whatever. Deal with it. That's part of the rules. You can't make fun of kids who got shot at. That's how it goes. But with Gina here, I think I look at what she tweeted and I go, this is the most boring, tame nonsense in the world. I don't understand firing her for it. I think what she said was kind of obnoxious and stupid, but it's nothing close to the level where she needs to lose her job.
I would say remove the picture and you're just fine.
Yeah. It's the picture I think that made people upset. It's a very controversial picture. All right, Nicolaides, I'm going to try and rip through. I'm going to try and rip through a couple more callers so I can wrap this thing up. But thanks for coming by, buddy. I appreciate it. Let's talk to Will real quick. Will, you there? William has no microphone. Let's talk to Janine. Jean, are you there?
Hello?
Hello. How are you?
What's going on, Vito, bro?
Oh, not much. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm just playing some Fall Guys.
Oh, Fall Guys. I haven't played that in a while. Do they add a lot of new good levels to that game yet?
No, not really, honestly. It's been the same.
Oh, man. Well, what's on your mind? What are you thinking about?
So I got a few topics.
Well, give me one, because I'm trying to go quick.
Yeah, I hear you. So the Mando was I think the Mando was just too big of a project for whoever this actress is. I never really liked her, to be honest.
No, I never thought she was that great a part of the show. It was surprising to me when they said they wanted to give her own spin-off show. Maybe it would have been okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would actually like that show.
Yeah.
But I think she's capable of finding other work. I'm not feeling bad for her. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, she'll probably get work. I mean, Disney's such a family-friendly company that, again, it's almost stupid to say anything political working for Disney. And it's the same for Pedro Pascal. I mean, Pedro Pascal is going to get away with it because he's talking about kids and he doesn't want anything to happen to kids. And okay, well, maybe people get really upset when they think kids are in trouble. Maybe that's in line with Disney's brand. Again, this is saying I feel bad for kids. It's not saying I, hate conservatives or anything like that. It's a little bit different. But yeah, maybe she can just get work at somewhere that isn't so family friendly, or at least pretends to be family friendly.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It seems like she could fit a bunch of different roles. It seems like she's pretty capable of fitting in a bunch of roles. So
I hope she doesn't get I hope she doesn't get typecasted as some conservative crazy person. And yeah, I'm sure she could get work. We'll see if this ends up being a big thing. I think it all depends on how she plays it. I think the ball's in her court. Do you want to be a martyr for conservative free speech, or do you want to, walk it back and say, maybe I went a little too far, but I still think I had a point. I just want to work. I don't know. I think there's ways she could spin this.
Yeah, my first thought was that she was just fired because she wasn't doing a good job. And the tweet was just a cover-up.
I don't know. I think she was doing all right on this show. She did fine. All right, thanks, Jeannie. I appreciate it. That was my good friend, Jeannie. Let's talk to Ryan the Samurai. Ryan, you there? Ryan the Samurai has left the building. He immediately disconnected. Chocolate Noodle, are you there?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey.
I don't want to hand out any doom pills because it's also good news for you, but these shows, they're just too big. The last guy was saying. It's that problem with complaints are 10 times as important, or they look 10 times as important as they actually are. In reality, no one really cares. There's really not going to be a big difference in how successful The Mandalorian is either way, unless the show just fucks up in some other way.
Well, Disney's probably got to stop looking at Twitter. They got to go, what? Everybody on Twitter's mad at Gina? Most people are not on Twitter. They're really not. Everybody always tells me, they're like, Vito, you're making an ass of yourself on Twitter. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's Twitter. It's like a whole different ecosystem. Oh, people on Twitter don't like me? Most of the people who watch my channel are not on Twitter. I can do whatever I want on there. Leave me alone. Let me be an asshole on Twitter. So, yeah, I think Disney's got to be like, yeah, they probably should have just looked at it and been like, look, let's just talk to her and tell her, listen, bitch, shut up. Shut the fuck up. All right?
I thought she was going to be SJW.
Here's the new rule.
First saw her.
Well, that was the funny thing, is that all these guys, you know, originally were like, oh, it's one of those SJWs, but then they found out she was a Trump supporter, and now they love her to death. A bit of hypocrisy from some of the content creators out there. Here's what Disney should have done. Sat her down, said, don't say anything about Jews. Don't say anything about the Holocaust. Shut the fuck up about masks. Shut the fuck up about voter fraud, and you keep your job. That's it. All right? They should have sat her down and had that talk.
That's what it takes.
They didn't have that talk. I don't know why. I mean, I guess, again, I think they're just like, you know what, we're such a big organization, we don't have time to, every one of these actors or actresses is just a cog in a machine. We don't have time to manage every one of them. You know who should have been telling her that is her agent. Her agent should have stepped in and been like, listen, bitch, Disney ain't got time for this. Shut the fuck up. Because when it comes down to it, was what she said really that important? Did the world need to know that being a conservative is the equivalent of being chased down by the Nazis? I don't think so, because I don't even believe that.
It's Naziception. We're being killed by Nazis and are also Nazis.
I think, and as somebody points out, maybe they did have that talk, and then she kept running her mouth, which is another very possible thing that could have happened. I mean, Roseanne, we know they had that talk. They told Roseanne, will you shut the fuck up on Twitter? And she wouldn't. I mean, she almost made them fire her. Not Gina, Roseanne.
She's a fighter.
Yeah. I don't know if they had that talk with Gina.
She just wants to fight all the time.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, that might be a thing. Gina thinks she is a victim. She is a victim of, I mean, but now we've agreed with her. I don't know. Was it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Does her going out and saying I'm a victim is challenging Disney to confirm her belief and go, yeah, you are a victim. We are going to fire you. Ultimately, here's what I would say. If you're on Disney, if you're at Disney, you work for Disney. Same for James Gunn, by the way. James Gunn should have deleted every tweet he had the second he got his job working for Disney. Delete everything. If you're going to go on social media, just shut the fuck up. You work for this saccharine, rainbow, smiley Mickey Mouse corporation that wants to pretend that they, you know, love families and whatever else. And I know it's all horse shit, and it must feel like bullshit to go along with it, but the paycheck is more exciting than tweeting out garbage. That's what I would say.
Certainly. Hey,
all
it's
right.
good news for you, for commentary, because
it
you're
is.
gonna keep firing people. So you're going to always have hot topics.
I finally have a topic for the show. Every time I try to do a live show, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to talk about. And then Gina gets fired. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. We got a topic tonight. All right, Chocolate Noodle, thanks for coming by. I hang up on you. Bye. I love you. Roxy, are you there, Roxy? Roxy. If you want Star Wars in the background, I have a TIE pilot outfit I can put on. Do you have your camera on? Anyway, Roxy sent me a very nice message earlier. I don't know if Roxy is still on right now. We'll move on to something. Thanks for coming by, Roxy. You got no microphone. Let's talk to Jack Rush. Jack, you there?
Hey, Vito. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. What's on your mind, buddy?
I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed the how you guys were discussing the economic point of view for Disney.
Yeah.
Disney's decision. Like, regardless of right or wrong, economically speaking, from what I see, if I was in Disney's shoes, I probably would have also had fired Gina, because the main issue with what's happening is that usually, well, first of all, long run versus short run. So usually speaking, is that people, you know, the saying that no attention is bad attention, right?
Yeah.
But for Mandalorian, it's so big that everybody that has an interest in seeing Mandalorian already has. So Disney's main goal is to get people like me that don't really care for Mandalorian to go and see it. So
yeah, you want to cast as wide a net as possible. You want conservatives and liberals to watch your dumb TV show.
Yeah, because Mandalorian has like the fan base is very very broad. It's all kinds of people. So if Gina is because she's made her enemies, so she's constantly riling up her enemies and getting this negative media attention. Then people like me who have never seen Mandalorian and are on the don't really care for it, just get this negative news about Mandalorian. You probably aren't going to see it. So this just hurts Disney's money.
Yeah, it's very complicated being a public figure. I mean, it's the same thing for me. I work for various companies. I do work. I'm actually about to go next week. I'm going to a big video game company to help them run a live stream for one of their products. What is that noise? I'm getting some beep. Point is, I don't tell people where I work or who I work for or who my clients are because they don't want to be associated with the things I say on YouTube and Twitter, and I don't blame them. I tell them specifically, don't put my name. I have products I've worked on, and they've said, "What do you want? What do you want us to put in the credits?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Don't put my name in there," because one of these, again, SJ, whatever you want to call them, these social justice types, they'll get mad and they'll raise a fuss and they'll go, "Did you know that this product was worked on by this guy?" Blah 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 blah. And I can't even tell them that they're wrong for doing that. Yeah, if you want to expose that this product was worked on by Vito, a guy who a lot of people, I guess, hate for some reason. I don't know what I did, but whatever. Sure, maybe they deserve to have that information, so I just don't give it to them. You might have something on your shelf right now that I worked on, and my name's not on it, because that's what it has to be. So ultimately, I don't know. Capitalism and being a performer and being the face of a thing, it's just a very complicated relationship that is hard to manage, and it's hard to know what to do.
Like the well thing of short run wise, a lot of people mention the short run as in yeah, they fired Gina and then a lot of people will cancel. Jeremy Hambley from The Quartering, he canceled his Disney Plus. But that's only short run. In the long run, if Gina's not with a person like Gina out that makes a bunch of controversy, because all I know about Gina, how do you pronounce her last name?
Carano, I believe.
Carano. Yeah, all I know about her is her pronouns thing and this new controversy right now.
Right, there's no good press about her because the only big thing she does is piss people off.
So if she's just constantly if she's constantly month after month bringing negative press to Mandalorian, it just makes sense. You're just hurting your bottom line. You got to make money.
Again, what I would have liked to have happen is it looks terrible for Disney to fire her. I don't want them to fire her. I wish they had just sat her down and said, "Listen, if you want to work for the Disney Corporation, shut your mouth." The question is, maybe they already said that to her and she decided to keep saying stuff. Which, I mean, again, my bar for discourse is, okay, whatever. She complained a thing to the Holocaust. It's a thing that happens on the internet constantly. But, I mean, I guess you can't say that, the people were offended by that. Maybe they really are offended by that. And if that's going to make them not want to watch Star Wars or whatever else, I don't know, man. I can't run those numbers. It's all very complicated. I mean, ultimately, the best thing you can do as a performer, and it's part of the reason I'm such a shitty performer, is shut your mouth and don't have opinions. Because you're supposed to be a man for all seasons, I guess.
I will personally say, though, I do feel it is hypocritical that because Gina and Pedro Pascal, I feel that their situations are similar, but it's unfair. But I'm just curious, who are these people that Gina made her enemies though? Because these are the ones that make a fuss and that talk to journalists, that cause it to. Who are these people? I'm always curious. Who are these people?
Her biggest mistake was, I think, pissing off the transgender community, which, I hate to say it, they are a bunch of keyboard warriors, and they will not let up. I've dealt with that nonsense before. I have my own criticisms of certain... And I have no problem with transgender people. I know this is one of those things where I go, I have black friends or whatever, but... I do think there are, some things, some issues there that could be discussed, and that conversation often gets shut down by these loud kind of keyboard types. And it's, but again, I don't work for Disney. If I worked for Disney, you would not hear my opinion about basically anything. If I got an opinion, I'll share it with my close friends in confidence. If you're working for a company like Disney or one of these major studios, you almost have to be this squeaky clean. And I don't know why we want this, but I don't know why we pretend that people don't have opinions. It's very weird. But yeah, you almost have to be this completely squeaky clean person. It's very bizarre. It's very artificial and weird. And I don't know. Ultimately, I think Gina's a victim of herself, but also a victim of a culture that for some reason expects too much from people. Expects people to be automatons that don't have any sort of opinion of their own. I don't know where we got to that idea.
You were also talking about the. I'd like to touch on the thing with the Holocaust. I also feel that every time when people talk about Nazis, Hitler, or the Holocaust, even I stopped doing that because I feel like I'm just automatically strawmanning the person I'm debating with. It's just a straw man because you're putting them in the worst possible light. Like the worst thing most people these days know is Nazis, Hitler, and the Holocaust. So because both sides do it. So I just.
And those comparisons have been ruined now, because when someone tells me someone's acting like Hitler, someone's acting like a Nazi, I go, you don't really mean it, or you're being high. It used to be that kind of comparison was taken very seriously.
Yeah, exactly. It just gets old. Both sides say, which I find is the most which I find really ironic. Both sides think of the other side as the fascists.
Yeah, everybody thinks everybody's a Nazi, and you're like, listen, man, there can only be one side that's Nazis, right? We can't all be Nazis. I don't know, man. It's complicated, but ultimately, I mean, we have to say, look, I think it just looks really stupid and bad. It looks like Disney, is demonizing conservatives. I think ultimately what she tweeted was stupid, but it probably caused less harm to Disney's brand than firing her will do. Now, but the thing is, on a long enough timeline, does it actually matter? I mean, this is one show. She's one character. She's not the main character. Is it really going to hurt things? I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out if people really put their money where their mouth is with this canceled Disney Plus thing. I have a feeling that you put, one big Marvel movie on there. You put, the next Iron Man on there. People will come running back, man. I don't think people are that principled. We'll see.
So now the other question, like when Grodd was talking with you, I think it was like touching on the cancel culture. I personally do not believe she was a victim of cancel culture. I think Gina caused her own downfall because she constantly kicked the hornet's nest, and I don't think you think she's a victim of cancel culture either, right?
Well, if this was the first thing she ever said, I'd be like, oh, come on. It is the kind of thing where I'm like, what are you doing, girl? You knew that everybody was mad at you and is trying to cancel you on these social medias. Why don't you just quit Twitter? Or are you trying to... and if you're saying, well, I'm taking a principled stand, I want to, be able to yell and scream about whatever I want. Okay, but you got to understand that might not be in Disney's best interest, and they're your employer, and, at a certain point, they might say, okay, man, you can say all the stuff you want. We just can't have you be on charge of the TV show if you're going to do it. She kind of put him in a spot.
Yeah, like how does a big company do that? Because Grodd was just saying Disney could just go and say we do not support or
we don't support. Yeah, what she says doesn't represent Disney. Right. That never means anything.
Yeah, no, I feel like that never works with people.
And it's also disingenuous. It's like, look, man, you pay her a fucking salary, okay? You make her into action figures. Trying to tell me that you don't, she's the show. She's part of the show. It's just how that stuff works.
So, but how? I mean, she is still expressing her opinion. So, for a person like her, how could she ever manage to express her opinion?
I don't know. It's all this as I've told people, I'm like, look, man, the intersection of free speech and capitalism is one of the most complex subjects there is. Because you can't tell me as a business owner I can't fire a guy who's causing financial harm to my business. You can't say, well, you got to let him say whatever he wants. I'm like, after he gets off work, he goes on the street corner and he talks about how we should give all our money to ISIS. Okay, people are mad at me and don't want to buy my ice cream. You can't tell me I don't have the right to fire that guy. It's a very complicated subject. Jack, thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care,
All
Vito.
right, the great Jack. Let's talk to Darkside Roxas. Roxas.
Hello.
One of
oh
the
my,
chat.
can you hear an echo?
No, I can hear you good.
Okay, that's good. The stream is muted. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
I
can you hear
gotta tell
me?
ya. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Well, what's going on, buddy? What are you thinking?
Most just wheeling down for the day. It's been interesting. Listen, I've been here since like before the show started. I'm waiting forever, man. And I gotta tell you, I'm not really feeling the same now that I did when I first came in.
Yeah. Well, how has your opinion changed on this subject?
I don't want to say people are saying she was asking for it, but a lot of people saying, it's possible that the staff went, "Hey, can you chill?
Yeah.
Your hot takes on Twitter, please. Can you knock that the hell off?"
I
And she didn't
imagine
stop.
that conversation probably happened. I mean, if you create a PR thing for Disney, someone's probably going to sit down with you and be like, "Hey, here's what happened. Here's what we want you to do so it doesn't happen again." I think that's very possible that that's something that happened.
I'm also curious: would she have gotten canceled over the Jew stuff if she wasn't already on flack for the trans stuff? Because I've been hearing people wanting to have her get canceled since like season 1.
I think,
under fire forever.
I think ultimately she probably got canceled mostly for the. I think the trans thing is such a hot topic, and you have a lot of people in Hollywood who are trans, probably within the Disney organization or whatever else. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And they basically said you're on thin. I mean, they basically said or confirmed that they originally were going to announce that she had a TV show coming, and then they canceled the announcement because she wouldn't shut up. So it's very possible that what do you call it? That the trans thing is basically what canceled her, and then maybe they were going to give her a second chance, but this was just a bridge too far. That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
I'm a bit concerned and curious how it's going to affect the show. Because when I first learned about it, my first thought was, how is this going to affect Mandalorian? How is this going to affect the storytelling? Because right away, the show, in my opinion, can never be complete. Because it was very obvious that they were setting up stuff for her character to do in season 3. She was becoming like a, she got like a badge.
Yeah.
They're exploring her past with Alderaan. In my opinion, they're very clearly giving her
setting
stuff
her up
to do
for
in the
something.
future. And now it's going to be like, Kara who? Never
Yeah,
heard of her.
who are you talking about? Yeah, well, I don't know if she was that integral to the show. I mean, it's very easy to write around that, I'd say. Yeah. We'll see exactly what happens.
I was never too in love with her character. I liked her just fine, but it's not like, oh man, no more Kara doing the Mandalorian. I'm out of here.
Yeah. No, I think it was ultimately they'll write her off. I mean, it's possible they'll replace her with, just a different actress. It's very possible to do that. It always sucks when they do that, but whatever.
I hate recastings. Yeah,
I hate recasting as well. It so breaks the fourth wall or whatever you want to say.
It's so distracting. Yeah, it's so distracting. Plus there's some people who can only do the character. I have friends who say, I don't know why I don't just recast more people. They're like, why do you make a new character to fill this role? Why don't you just recast the same role? Because first off, can you imagine anyone else as Iron Man aside from Robert Downey Jr.?
No. I mean, but I do say, I am like, why don't you find like a Luke Skywalker lookalike instead of doing that CG thing? Like, you can find someone that kind of looks like Mark Hamill, I'm sure, or dress him up a little bit. I mean, I would be interested in seeing if they do something like that for, I want to see like a TV show with Luke Skywalker or Han or whatever else. We'll see.
I think we're 30 years too late for that.
But yeah, ultimately, I think Mandalorian, I mean, I think the show should end anyway. You got rid of Baby Yoda, which was the whole reason anybody was watching the show, right? So, what's he going to do now? Is he going to find a different Baby Yoda to protect? I don't actually know where the show goes from there.
Well, he has the Darksaber now. They're clearly setting up something about the Mandalore, and they have the cruiser now to take over Mandalore.
Yeah.
I think the show will last 1 or 2 more seasons for season 3 and season 4. I know Moff Gideon's actor, Garnicio Esposito, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly.
Yeah.
He said they're doing at least a 3 and a 4. And they announced like 15 Star Wars shows. They don't need Mandalorian to last 600 years.
No, they do not. I think they're doing too many Star Wars shows. I think we're going to get so tired of Star Wars, it's going to be bizarre. We'll see. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, Mandalorian was already like, oh yeah, I'll watch a Star Wars show. What am I gonna do? Watch 10 Star Wars shows?
Way too many.
I don't have time for that. I ain't got time for that. All right, Roxas, thanks for coming by, buddy.
Thanks for having.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Let's take one more call from my good friend Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. Oh, and real quick, Joe, I missed your donation. $15, says Grod Smud. Alex Waz asked Grod if he would storm Disneyland for Gina. I doubt he will. And Jimmy Bullis has raided us with a party of 2. 2 people raid, the best kind of raid. Joe, what's on your mind, buddy? How you doing?
Not much. I was mostly listening, Vito. I think you're, do you know who Richard Stallman is?
No, but I'm gonna say yes. Who's Richard Stallman?
Richard Stallman is the guy who made like Linux, or was not Linux.
Oh,
sorry.
Linus Torvald.
No, Linus Torvalds. GNU, GNU.
Okay, GNU. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like the operating system, and Linux is the kernel.
Yeah.
Anyway, no one knows that.
No one knows or cares, but yes.
Richard Stallman is kind of a he believes in he's like part of the Free Software Foundation. He sort of says, he's a big proponent of like open source software and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's very, very strict on his principles. So one of the things I really like about you, the reason I listen to you, I don't always agree with the stuff you say, but I feel like
everything I say is correct, Joe. I'm sorry. I have to let you know that. I'm always right.
You're very right. I had a conversation with someone who was also very right.
Yeah.
People who are very right are very fun
are the best. The best.
No. I wanted to just, the reason I listen to what you have to say is I feel like you are principled in your beliefs. You don't flip-flop very easily.
Yeah.
But you also listen to data and facts, and if someone comes in and has a good argument, you sort of evaluate that and you change your mind. And I think
I pride myself on, I don't want to be a guy. A lot of people argue purely from emotion, and I think that it's shameful when you do that. It's shameful if you don't, take the time to consider all the alternatives. And, you do have to admit, look, man, I don't always have all the information, and there's no way I ever could. So if someone comes along, I'm going to hear them out. Now, if that person comes along and I ask them for a source and they go, here's a deleted Wikipedia article, I go, well, that's not good. I don't like that. You got to bring me some real information. But as long as you make a good faith effort to do that, I want to hear you out. I want to hear what's going on.
And that's why I like listening to you talk. Not everyone is that way, and I feel like there's too much garbage out there right now where everyone just has whatever rhetoric or whatever they're trying to feed to whoever they're trying to feed, right?
The problem is a lot of people pick a side. You can't pick a side. Because the second you pick a side, you're saying, I'm only going to believe this one set of things. And when something, I hate to say it, both sides are wrong, usually. One side will be right one time, one side will be right the other time. That's why you can't pick one. You got to go out and you got to go, look, man, I'm not saying, you got to be a centrist or whatever. I still say, basically, I mostly align with the democratic liberal view of things. But there's also a lot of stuff they do that I really dislike, and I totally see where the conservatives are coming from, and I actually agree with them on a lot of those things. So, yeah, it's hard to remain objective, especially because people, almost to be in society and have friends and have people expect you to agree with them to, like, be their friend or whatever, That's where I get into trouble.
I think one of the culturally weird things in the United States is if you're wrong, you're sort of a loser. You've lost.
Yeah.
You can't ever admit that you're wrong about something. Even if you know you're wrong, you just got to double down. And that's sort of what I feel happened with the most recent in politics and maybe I was just too naive to notice it when I was younger, but it feels like in politics right now, in the last, 12 years that I've been paying attention, is no matter what side you're on, if you're wrong, if you can't ever admit that you're wrong about something.
Well, the worst part is we don't let people admit they're wrong.
That ruins you.
We need to get to a point.
Like such a weird culturally
yeah
incorrect way to move forward.
We need to return to the point.
to
Here's what
exist might even
happens.
be a better
Can you hear
word.
me, by the way?
Oh, I think something weird happened. I can't hear anything.
Test 1, 1, 2. Joe, are you there? Joe.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I kept trying to say something, and you were like, just kept going. I'm like, Joe!
Sorry, no, I couldn't hear you at all. That was weird.
That's all right, man. We need. What I'm trying to say though is, we need to get back to the point where when somebody admits they're wrong, you don't rub it in their face. You go, "Hey, that was really big of you to do that." You know, because nowadays, I mean, we've gotten to a culture where I tell people, I'm like, don't apologize. Like, why not? I feel bad about something I did. You know, I want to go on social media and apologize for it. And it goes, no, because we've entered a culture where any apology, you know, people will just repost it and they'll go, yeah, that guy, what an idiot, blah, 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 blah. Like, an apology is now seen as weakness. All right? Being willing to say I was wrong is seen as weakness. No, saying you were wrong, saying based on new information I've obtained, I was wrong, is a sign of intellectual honesty. Is saying, as new facts made themselves aware, or I was mistaken. That's one of the most ballsy and beautiful things you can do as somebody who cares about information. And anybody who goes out and says, this guy was wrong, and he admitted it, that person should be crushed into the ground as the worst type of person. What would you have preferred he done? Just kept repeating false information, kept doubling down and making sure that we didn't have all the facts? No. You just need to commend that person for being so committed to the truth that they're willing to admit, I was wrong. Which I have done on multiple... I try to... If I put out a tweet and it's wrong, I will correct the record. I will add something to it where I go, listen, I got this one wrong. I mean, if I just put it out and I immediately... Like, the other day, I accidentally tweeted a fake news article. And I thought I didn't tweet it. I thought, like, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't tweet that. But then I did end up actually tweeting it out. But luckily, it was, you know, quick enough that I deleted it because I didn't want to keep, you know, putting out whatever information. Anybody who replied to the article, I, you know, sent a message. I said, hey, by the way, that was fake. Don't fall for that one like I did. But yeah, we're reaching a point where, I hate to say it, I mean, I mostly see it from the left. Maybe the right's doing it as well, where apologies or correcting the record or whatever else, it just gives them another opportunity to pile on. They go, oh, look at his apology. I hate when I see these celebrities and they seem like they're trying to actually apologize for something or whatever happened, and these people just beat the crap out of them. I kind of... Yeah. I wonder what would happen if Gina tried to apologize. I think what would happen is people would go, oh, she doesn't care, and this is all PR, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you can't question the apology. The apology exists, and you got to be... And now, if she goes back to doing the exact same thing or whatever, yeah, maybe you can question it then, but we got to learn to accept people's apologies as a society. I think we'll be much healthier for it.
Well, and I think I think you're right, and then also people need to... So something I've been saying a lot lately is be brave, not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be brave and try and understand what you're doing, and apologizing for something actually is brave.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, recognizing that, but also being sincere when you apologize is the other.
We should expect sincerity, but I think the problem is we for some reason have gotten to this point where we don't think anyone's ever being sincere, and I don't think that's healthy. I think we have to assume some sincerity from people. We'll see. Yeah. All right, Joe, I'm going to wrap up the show. Thanks for coming by, buddy. That was my good friend Joe Smo. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been your favorite show. What's the name of that show? It's The Vito Show. We're actually probably going to be back here tomorrow talking with my good friend Dick Masterson. We'll see if he still wants to come on. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about all sorts of fun topics. Hopefully we'll have another topic. But I want to thank everybody who came by. I want to thank everybody who super chatted. Geek Variety is asking if Grodd ever gave me my $50. No. Grodd needs my mailing address. He has to mail me a check by mail. What a nightmare. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if I have the stamina to do this show again. Thanks to everybody who came by. I want to thank again my guests, Mr. Girl. You can find him at youtube.com/MrGirlReturns, and the great Dr. Peter Hickerson, who you can find at soundcloud.com/Surely You're Joking with dashes in between. Just look up Surely You're Joking on Google and you'll find him. Thanks to everybody who came by. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you learned something. Sorry I'm a disgusting hypocrite, according to Grod. I think I'm not that much of a hypocrite. I think I'm being very reasonable here. Gina put him in a tough situation. I wish Disney had had a little more cojones to not immediately toss her out the window. But as a soulless mega corporation, what did she really expect was going to happen? It's a tough situation. Thanks for watching. More cool videos coming soon. I do have another video coming soon. I'm working on it right now, so stay tuned.